What's up, guys? Welcome to Kinda Funny's James Bond in Review. That's right. We are ranking and reviewing every Daniel Craig James Bond movie in the current line of James Bond cinematic universe going on right now. We're doing this prepping for No Time to Die, but No Time to Die
gave us a little more time.
Exactly.
Apparently there was time to die after all.
Yeah.
They
So
punted that back to where I believe it should have gone to begin with, was the November release date, which traditionally, if I'm not mistaken, Bond movies for the last at least decade have usually been launched toward the end of the year anyway. So interesting. I would have loved to have seen what the Bond would have done as a blockbuster, or summer blockbuster area, but hey man, it's better. It's better when there's nothing else to watch.
Well, fun fact, this is the second delay. Originally, No Time to Die was supposed to come out November 2019. Then got pushed to March, then got pushed. Now again to November.
Plenty of time.
But we decided, me and Nick have been listening to a lot of James Bond music the last couple weeks. It's just like, we can't stop. We got to do this anyway. So we are doing it the next 4 weeks actually. We'll be doing the James Bond movies with Daniel Craig. Very exciting stuff. You can watch the show on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames when we do it live every week, or you can watch it later on youtube.com/kindoffunny or roosterteeth.com. Or if you want to listen to it, you can search for Kind of Funny Reviews on your favorite podcast service. Give us those 5 stars. Give us those thumbs up. We appreciate it all very much. If you want to get the show ad-free, guess what? We have an option for you. Patreon.com/kindoffunny. You can be a Patreon producer like Mohammed, a.k.a.
the greatest
Momo,
of all time,
a.k.a. Mo Square.
Momoji and
He said he's down with either of those nicknames.
Cool.
So we're good on
Mo
that.
Square.
Justin Toft.
I feel like you can go with both, I feel, at this point.
I have one for Justin Toft. Shake that laffy toffee. That laffy toffee.
Jesus.
There's a T at the end.
You didn't have to say that.
Tofty.
I like that even less.
Come back next week with
Das Bear
I'm
Jew,
sorry.
Blackjack,
DBJ.
and Downtown Jared Brown.
Downtown Jared Brown reporting on all the cool VJ stuff.
Okay.
Remember Julie Brown was a VJ?
Yeah.
The hell's a VJ?
I'm
video
Tim Gettys.
DJ.
This
Whoa,
video
watch
jockey
some
for
MTV from the late 80s. early
Andy
90s.
Cortez. That Kevin Coelho.
Remember Jesse, the VJ? The one who won the competition? He's like,
Do you know what they're talking
Remember
about?
Kurt Loder? I'm
This
84 years
2-year-old.
old.
Yeah,
Nick's here, too.
Jesse was 6'4" and probably weighed 130.
Sick.
And he was just this tall, super skinny. And he's like,
I remember that guy.
He
was like Russell.
he looked like he hadn't showered in 4 years.
What's that British dude?
Russell
Crowe.
Russell
Brand.
No,
Brand?
Russell Brand.
Russell Brand.
Yeah, he reminded me of Russell Brand.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. And Barrett running the show back
We both
there.
went with Crow.
Yeah, what up?
We are talking about James Bond today, specifically Casino Royale. The reboot of the Bond franchise. Before we get into all that, Nick, you're the James Bond guy.
Yes.
Right? Let's take us back to 2006.
2006, we were at the height of the basically the ludicrousness of what James Bond could be. We had just finished with Pierce Brosnan's The World Is Not Enough, and these movies just got
Die Another Day.
completely. Oh, was Die Another Day the last one?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
And Die Another Day. That's right. We had an invisible car. There was a dude with diamonds in his face. There was a
cool.
space laser that could just nuke people. I mean, this was like Bond had gotten out of control.
When was the last Bond film?
2002. I wanna
2002?
say.
Okay.
So we
Die
take a
Another Day.
break and we go. We need to reboot this, and we need to have it be a little bit more grounded and a little bit more up to date. And so they decided, I think smartly, to go back to what the original, the first Bond book, which was Casino Royale, and this was when Bond had just become a 00 agent and was out on this not grandiose mission. It was basically, if I remember correctly in the book, the idea was he was a brand new 00 agent, and they were sending him to go play this poker game against this Le Chiffre character, in the hopes that he would win, but kind of knowing in the back of their mind, they're like, this is a long shot. There's like a 90% chance he doesn't win. But hey, we don't have a lot of skin in the game because these 00s are kind of, whatever. What's the worst that could happen? He loses, and we try to get this guy.
They're pretty
a different way.
replaceable.
So the idea was that this was sort of like they sent him out on a losing mission, and of course he finds a way to win, and he finds a way to turn this Le Chiffre character, and win the day. But that's why I really like this movie, because I think they said, let's take a step back and let's try to ground this a little bit more. Let's take away the gadgets. Let's take away Q. There's no Q branch in this. He doesn't get the laser thing. The most we have is a random defibrillator in a car, which looking back at it now, you're like, why would they put a defib? Doesn't matter. Okay.
Because the car was ready for anything.
Anything if you got poisoned.
Yeah.
anything else, you were
He was
fucked.
ready for that one thing.
Yeah. But I like that because what they wanted to do is they wanted to explore the Bond character in this, and they wanted to kind of take him back to his roots and paint him less as a suave guy and more as a, hey, you just got finished with this brutal training. You're a blunt instrument. You're reckless. You're just there to kill things. And now we're seeing the formation of what made Bond, which is, at the beginning of this, he's this blunt instrument. Toward the end, he's a little smarter, he's a little bit more strategic, and he's a little bit more suave and debonair. And we see that largely based off the strength of the Vesper character who comes in and kind of shakes him up and is his basically emotional and intellectual equal. And they have these lovely sparring matches back and forth where it's half flirting, half antagonistic. And I think you see him start to his idea of women changes a little bit, his idea of the mission changes a little bit, and he gets a little bit more worldly. And that's thanks to Vesper, and that's thanks also to M, the character who I think they were smart. They kept Judi Dench from the Pierce Brosnan era because she's awesome.
Dumb Tim shit?
Sure.
I thought Judi Dench was in every single James Bond movie.
No, traditionally the M character, which was the leader of MI6, was a man. And they've gone back to that since with Ray Fiennes kind of taking up the mantle because if I'm not mistaken, Judi Dench was just like, I just don't want to do this anymore.
Future's punishment.
But Judi Dench being his kind of his boss, it brings such a cool energy into it because obviously M takes on a different meaning specifically in this series where you start seeing her being more, because Bond is, as we learn in this, he's an orphan. You start seeing her be more of a motherly character to him and being more of like that figure, and helps him kind of stop being an assassin and being more of a real human being, which is cool. There's a lot of layers to this that I
Is he an
really
orphan?
like. Yeah.
Shout out to Jimmy B for just sticking with it, right?
In this series, he is. I don't remember if he.
It reminds me of the Rookie,
in the books,
where what's his face becomes a pitcher at the age 42. Like, how old is James Bond in this movie? He seems pretty up there to be getting the role of 00, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm proud of him that he stuck with it. He didn't give up on his dream.
You don't think he's like 35, but like a hard 35?
No,
he started in single O ball. And,
yeah, exactly.
He had to get up to the
I feel like most
double
O's, they get the job and maybe like they're 25, 26.
Well, there's a really lovely
31 maybe at the latest.
There's a great quote that I pulled from this to start the episode where he says, she goes, I've given you your 00 status basically and you've fucked up already. And he goes, well, I understand 00s have a very short life expectancy, so your mistake will be very short-lived.
I love it.
And I love that because specifically in the books, there's a great moment in the books where they talk about the reason why he's into wine and the reason why he's into suits and fast cars and trying to have these disposable relationships with these women is because deep down, he knows he could die at any second. He lives this life where basically he's on borrowed time, and so he makes a game out of it. And also, he's always alone because he is a spy in these dangerous situations. He can't trust anyone. And so all of this, as they rightfully talk about in this, is this armor that he puts up on himself. And then, of course, at the end of this movie, when he's let the armor down for the first time, guess what happens to him?
He falls in love.
He falls in love, but it bites him in the ass, and so you've got that complexity as well. So they have that lovely line where she's like, "Oh, you've put your armor back up," and he uses that humor and that suaveness.
Spoilers. Kevin hasn't seen it yet.
I'm sorry, but there is. But
Would you seriously not watch it?
I forgot last night.
Kevin.
No, you didn't. That's not what I said.
He hasn't quite finished it
I've
yet.
watched like 95% of it. Like they're literally in Venice destroying the building. It's like I know.
I haven't seen
what's
it
gonna
either. Well,
happen.
spoilers.
I know
man.
what's gonna happen.
I haven't watched it.
I remember.
So-
I've already seen. What?
Great. So today we're talking about Casino Royale.
He's mad at me for 5 minutes. I got 5 minutes left.
Released on November 17th, 2006, directed by Martin Campbell. He's a New Zealand film and television director based in the United Kingdom. He's best known for directing the highly regarded British miniseries Edge of Darkness in 1985, for which he won a BAFTA, and the James Bond films GoldenEye and Casino Royale.
that's right, he did do GoldenEye. And remember,
This guy,
so-
he's got it.
if you remember correctly, so GoldenEye obviously was a direct response to the Timothy Dalton Bonds that just did not do very, very well. The license, Living Daylights, I think, did okay. The License to Kill did not do very good. Timothy Dalton's out. They do another soft reboot. Of course, every time they recast Bond, they sort of do a retcon. Not really a retcon, but they recast everything, and it's kind of understood that, hey, we're taking it back to square one with the Bond character. And Martin Campbell came in and did GoldenEye. And GoldenEye is a very, very beloved both Bond film and great N64 game, if you remember correctly. But honestly, I think that was a huge... Like, that was a moment in time where everyone's like, oh, shit, myself included. I'm like,
Bond.
this is awesome.
Yeah.
This is reinvigorating my love of Bond.
What did the bad guy there used to scream? He would like get up. At the
I'm
end.
invincible.
Yeah, it's
It's Boris.
Yeah.
He also directed The Mask of Zorro in 1998.
Great movie, also.
Oh, one
The
of Cool
Legend
Greg's
of Zorro
favorites.
in 2005.
That's Cool Greg's favorite.
Green Lantern in 2011.
Started to take a turn
and The
for him.
Foreigner in 2017, which I did not hear great things
The
about.
Foreigner was the Jackie Chan movie?
Yeah.
It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's fucking
the one where his-
Taken with Jackie Chan.
But the daughter gets killed, right?
Yeah,
And
he
that's
just
Oh,
fucking
shit.
murders people.
That sounds sick.
It's fucking great.
It's
That
great.
sounds
Oh, yeah?
really good.
Yeah, he just goes on a murder.
It's pretty cool.
I heard the wrong
But he's
thing
like
about
he's like a hardcore like secret agent, retired, but no,
That's
no one,
cool.
and he's super unassuming. He's like, oh, old man, he
Yeah,
fucks him up.
yeah,
Like,
he's old and he just fucks
That's cool
everyone
as
up.
shit.
A budget of 150 million and a box office of 606 million worldwide, become the highest grossing Bond film until Skyfall in 2012. A runtime of 2 hours and 22 minutes. Before we get into the plot and everything, I want to talk about what we thought of this movie. Because let me say, this is the one that I've always been like, I love Casino Royale, it's dope. And that stands to this day.
Good.
But it is interesting how much of a time capsule this movie is.
Yeah.
Where I feel like a bunch of my criticisms of this movie, which essentially are it's not Mission Impossible 5 or 6, really stem from the
Or
fact
4.
that
Or 3.
honestly, yeah.
Come on, Tim.
A
Jesus.
lot of the elements of it that stood out so much in 2006 are kind of commonplace now. The parkour section that last 10 hours was breathtaking back
Awesome.
then. And it
Really
was fucking
cool.
awesome. It was the first time we'd ever seen something like that in action directed that way. This is a movie that kind of took a ridiculous franchise and grounded it before, Nolan really got credit for doing that with Batman. Like, this was around Batman Begins, so it was still kind of like the early times of all that. And it's like the way that they make a lot of decisions, it's really, really bold and I think works really well. It's just now looking at it, it's like in comparison to what comes after for 14 years, it's like, all right, it's not great.
Well, so
but
for
it's really
context,
good.
I think you nailed it, right? So like Mission Impossible 2 came out in 2000. And so people were like, wow, this
man.
is bad. Mission
That's
Impossible
so bad.
3 came out in 2006. So you can start to see
Yeah.
the change in the action genre. And I mean, we talked about Mission Impossible 3 when we did the Mission Impossibles and reviews. That was really, for that series, we've almost figured this out. Like, it should be about the team. It should be about cool action and a really, really cool, like, three-dimensional villain. Let's move on from there. And that's kind of what we got with that. This, for Bond, though, grounding Bond in a more realistic fashion. I shouldn't say, like, 100% reality, because there's still crazy shit that happens in this. You're like, that
Yes.
motherfucker be dead.
Yeah.
But and there's like a part
As
where
close as we're gonna get,
as close as
though.
we're gonna get, I thought was just such a great choice. But it was a risk, and it was a risk that unfortunately they backed up on, they backpedaled on. And I think there are some elements that they set up in this that they just completely destroy in later movies. And it's sad because I think they kind of wussed out a little bit and said, we got to have more action and more gadgets because that's what people like. But they forgot that the reason everyone holds this one in such high regard is because of the character development, and it's because of the situations. It's because there is tenseness to this poker game, and you have to assume that, like, having an hour-long poker game in the middle of your second act is a bold choice. To watch it a third time, I've seen this movie probably 10 times. So to watch it again, I'm like, okay, I'm a little bored with this because I know what's happening. But back in the day, you're like, we're just gonna take a break from action for 20 minutes to show us having a fucking game of Texas Hold'em in this really weird, low-key environment that's not glamorous at all. Like, it was a bold choice, and I think for this it really works because then you have those moments where you have that, and then you have the stairway fight, which is the most hyper-violent fucking thing ever. And you have those great moments where it's a very real moment where he's strangling the guy, and Vesper has to make a choice where she looks down and sees he's going to get the gun, and she has to help Bond kill this guy.
Yeah.
And then you see it later where he doesn't know where she's at, and she's in the shower, like, traumatized
They
by
shot
this.
that in one take.
Did they?
The shower scene. They got it. They're like, that's it.
I mean, it's super sad because he's adjusted to this world.
They're like,
And
we
she
don't
even
want to
has
have to
that-
dry your clothes and everything.
But she has
fine.
that great line where she's like, how can you deal with it? How do you deal with the killing? Like, it doesn't bother you? And he goes, well, I wouldn't be very good at my job if it does. And she calls bullshit on
I'm
it.
a
She's
sociopath.
Like, I don't think you're... And she goes, that can't be true. Like, if that is true, it's going to eat away at your soul until there's nothing left. And that, all of these really, really like great character moments to me are what make this movie great. And then of course the action on top of that is fucking crazy, where you've got guys like, there's a great part where the guy's like doing parkour up and he just runs up a fucking crane to get to it, and it's like, that, okay, I'm in on this. I love it. Yeah, this scene goes on for a long time, but because the action's so creative and because they have such fun with it, like he's sliding down little holes, it's cool.
Yeah.
And I just feel like I feel like when we get to Quantum and then when we get to Skyfall, they go back to Bond's roots, and I just felt like it was regression, unfortunately.
Speaking of the violence and stuff, some interesting facts here about censorship that I didn't know. Casino Royale was censored for its release in Britain, the United States, Germany, and China. In Britain, by omitting some of Le Chiffre's sadism and James Bond's sadism, and James Bond's reactions in the torture scene to change the rating. In the United States, 2 fight scenes were censored to achieve a PG-13 rating: the fight between Bond and the traitorous MI6 agent, and the fight between Bond and Obano in the stairway. So that was censored.
That was censored?
Yeah, that's pretty
well,
crazy.
Well, no, but like that was probably in theaters. We're probably seeing an uncensored version now, right?
The fully uncensored version can be found on the Australian, Dutch, French, Hong Kong, Japanese, and Scandinavian Blu-ray and DVD releases.
To be fair, I didn't think it needed to be more violent than it was.
Yeah,
I think that's fine. I think it punctuates where Bond's at emotionally, where he is this killing machine that doesn't understand a more... Like that needs to be a little bit more level-headed about the stuff that he's doing, and a little bit more like. I love the scene where he's like, well, I thought taking a bomber out would be a good thing, and she goes, yeah, you killed one bomber. We're trying to get access. We're trying to use him to get access to a giant terrorist network. You need to think more like outside the box and more macro, not micro. And I love that, because that's kind of where that's what this movie is for him. Right, that is the themes of like, am I this blunt killing instrument, or am I this instrument that should help affect real change? You know,
I do think that they, the whole arc with him, learning that he can be better and learning that he wants to retire and live a more chilled out life, very similar to like Ethan Hunt, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like I would have rather had this maybe after a movie or two, because as somebody who really hasn't watched a lot of Bond movies, I understand who James Bond is, but watching a guy immediately sort of get grounded by this character Vesper, I feel like I hadn't seen enough for him to be grounded yet. Mm-hmm. Like, when that character change happens, you're supposed to know that this guy's been killing his whole life and stuff like that. But I think we saw like 2 instances of it, and it didn't really carry the emotional weight that I would have preferred it to had this happened in the second or third movie, where we know he's been killing a lot of fools left and right.
Well, that was,
and then now this is where the big change happens.
I think it's meant to be a fake out though, like to be like, oh, like all this change is gonna happen, then kind of cement the fact that this is why he's kind of this asshole that doesn't love and is super hardened by like life.
Yeah, the idea was supposed to be that she was saving him before it was too late, and then by the end of this becomes too late, and you see James Bond. Like he becomes like he says the lines Bond, James Bond. He's accepting, and a lot of people think that the idea of the Bond character is like a cover name. I don't think it is in the series, but that moniker, that mask that he puts on, the suit that he puts on, all of this is this armor that he puts on because he is now fully transformed into this like.
Jared Leto's actually Joker the whole time.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, or no Robin as well.
But I'll agree. Like when you watched it when I watched it in theaters for the first time, I was like, "Wow, this is interesting." Because you're right. Traditionally, you would have this be the third movie, right, or the second movie where he has been killing for a long time. Which is why I always think the 1-2 punch of this movie and Quantum of Solace, if you view them back to back and kind of see them as one movie, when we watch Quantum next week, just try to look at it as the third act to this story, because that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
He goes on this sort of like a little bit more redemption revenge-y kick to like it's very cool, but I don't want to do.
Anyway, this is my first time watching the movie.
Cool.
I thought it was fine. I wasn't really blown away, but I think a lot of it is because of what Tim was mentioning earlier. How I feel like I've seen a lot cooler stuff since these movies came out. And it's sort of I think of the parallel of like how everybody holds The Wire in such high regard. And The Wire is fantastic, but after watching after watching a lot of shows, and then you watch The Wire, like the big moments that should hit don't hit quite as hard. And I feel like that happens a lot with this movie. Towards the beginking of it, like the first 30, 45 minutes, I was really, really digging it. I'd say maybe 30 minutes or whatever. And then the poker scene just lost me. Like I was just I felt the tension there, and luckily shit happens to him to break up the poison, or like he gets poisoned and that breaks up the game, and then they take an hour intermissions every once in a while to break up the game, and that like brings back everything up for me. But for a while there, I'm just like, James Bond shouldn't be doing cool spy shit. Like I get this is what the movie's about, but I just don't. This isn't how I want to see James Bond. I don't want to see him playing a poker match for an hour and a half. Like I want to see him go do cool actiony things. And then there's the cool fight scenes, and There's a great getaway scene, and there are really interesting things to look at. But I just felt like for a while there, I was just kind of like, "Ooh, this movie's long."
I find it interesting that it seems like, just from what we're talking about, that all of us like and dislike different parts of the movie. Like, I really, really actively dislike the last, 40 minutes. Like, I think that the poker scene's fucking awesome, in my opinion. I think the whole beginning and all the setup is fucking awesome. And I think that it just, falls off a cliff. Like, once the girl... Like, there's too many, backstab on backstab on backstab, and it just hits a point where I'm just like, oh, man, this took me out of it. And, the action... I think the last action scene is, not fun to watch. The building kind of falling and all that stuff. It's like, I'm over this.
I kind of agree. I kind of agree.
The last couple minutes.
It just when he settles down and says, you know what, I'm retiring, blah blah blah, and I know obviously he's not retiring, right? There are several other more movies, and something's gonna happen. But I paused the movie and I thought, unless these movies have a long ass fucking credit scene,
oh no,
there's 30 minutes left.
There's still 30 minutes left. Unless the credits are maybe 20 minutes long or something, is the movie just gonna sort of end on this weird note? And then of course the money exchange and all that stuff. And I feel like that it wasn't satisfying enough for that to be the ending to the movie. It really did suck to see. I loved the Daniel Craig's acting with Vesper dying and him trying to rescue her in the water. It's horrifying. I thought it was really well acted, but I still don't really love a lot of that sequence.
So when I watched this movie when it first came out, I remember being like, it had cool scenes, but overall it was boring. Is what I felt. Rewatching it now, I really, really enjoyed it. Like, throughout the whole movie, I thought that, while you guys are saying right now that the poker scenes didn't do it for you guys,
I'm saying that Tim liked it.
I really, really liked the poker scenes. I feel like the tension was, really built up. Well, I know that they have Matheson kind of giving you, for the people that don't understand what's going on, the pot's 150.
No, that's perfect. You needed that. Yeah. Otherwise, I feel like
I don't think everyone. I feel like that is something they do for audiences.
The issue I have is that they have Mathis doing it, but they also have the dealer doing it, and it really is like, hey, we're going to beat you over this head with the rules of Texas Hold'em, which was a needless. Back in, let's call it in 2006, Texas Hold'em was really, really popular. So that I guess they decided to have a Texas Hold'em game.
It also, Texas
but I'm like,
Hold'em
why
is
would you
very
just do
simple,
5-card
right?
stud, which is way simpler, where it's just I think they could have simplified those, but I give them kudos for being like, hey, we're gonna take a break from the action and we're gonna try to build tension with this poker game. I guarantee you're never gonna see a scene like that in a Bond movie ever again.
Yeah. I mean, that's too bad. I feel like that tension is really, really well done.
But I just feel like audiences now, like Tim was saying, we're so trained to have Mission Impossible where you do have, Mission Impossible is very formulaic. It's quick story beat, boom, explosion action, quick story beat, boom, explosion action, and that's what we're having. In this, I think one of the reasons why it's a little hard to follow and a little reason why you feel like the third act drags a little is because we do have this non-traditional moment for 30 minutes where it is that intellectual sparring match between him and Lashif where not a lot of time, they're not literally just sitting across from each other, and you get really cool lines in it. Yeah. And I'm of two minds where I find it boring, but I also cool. love that they did it, and I love that they're like, that's what this movie's about. He has to beat him at poker. He can't physically beat him with his hands. He has to use his brain.
The biggest misstep I think this movie had was I loved how the poker thing was set up, and James Bond being smart. And we had it set up earlier that Lashif knows the odds, knows how to do the math and all that stuff. That's great. But I didn't like the scene where Bond was when he first played poker with the other dude
in fucking Boca Raton, Florida, wherever the fuck they are. Why did
real quick? My problem with it is that he has two aces, and it's just none of that is cool or special or him using skill or whatever. It's he literally was unbeatable, and it's just that's a weird thing to set up in the beginning of this movie where it's he's unbeatable literally by chance, and then later he's gonna use his smarts to win. It's why show that?
No, I mean he still wins by chance. What do you have?
He had a straight flush, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
he's still the odds are extremely low, right?
The idea was that he was supposed to be able to find his tell, but then at the end of the day, he just beat him straight up because he's a better poker player than him, which I liked. But my critique of the film stands less from the actual pacing and more from the production design aspect of it. I just don't understand why they picked these environments for him to play poker in. The first time we see him play poker, which is supposed to be the main thing that he brings to the movie, we're in this back room of a retirement home where they got Edna from fucking Reno, Nevada to come be the deal. She's like, all right, everyone, here's your buy-in. I'm like, this is the least sexy environment I've ever seen in my life. The girl walks in an evening gown and you're like, why would she be wearing that in this? This is not glamorous at all. It seems like my grandma's retirement home had a bingo night, and James Bond just came in and won a fucking Aston Martin there. And then we see the main poker game. Like if this had been a Sean Connery movie, that setting would have been way more glamorous. But instead we're in like the bottom of a fucking Laughlin, Nevada casino. I just thought it was
I think
weird.
what I needed was a team around him, with there being two different planes of action where some other shit is happening in the background while the poker match is happening to sort of offset and go back and forth between the dull and the action.
I enjoyed how one pace it was, And then just really quick to finish my opinion on this, I think it also falls apart in the last like 30 to 40 minutes where they just keep adding endings where it's like it could have ended with Matheson getting shocked and then be like, oh, we got it. And then later in another movie kind of revealing like, oh, nope, you were tricked. But it just keeps going where suddenly he's in a relationship with this girl for, I guess, a couple weeks. And then suddenly they're in Venice. And now she's running away. And now he's, it's just they keep adding shit. And it's like, you can stop. It's okay. You don't have to set up the next movie this hard.
It feels like like a featurette that they would release after the movie, like for the DVD. Like, here's what happened after the movie. Like,
No,
it feels like something
what
like
it feels
that.
like that I really appreciate.
Like the
What I really appreciate about it is, and again, I don't think you're ever going to see a movie like this because I think they've learned their lesson. I just don't think they can make it. But it feels like a book. It feels like you're reading a book. It feels like you're reading a Bond novel.
This was a very
where
successful
you keep
movie.
turning the page and you're like, we're in Venice, so we're with these characters for a bit, right? You don't feel the urgency when you're reading a novel that it has to end. In fact, if it's good, you want it to keep going, right? And that's what this is. Well, I will agree though, is that last set piece, the last action piece, is the least. It's the most underwhelming action of the entire movie. We've got the amazing parkour match at the very, very beginning. We've got what I think is just a fun and creative sequence with a plane where he's like beating the guy in the car and has to jumping all over this stuff. That's cool. And then in this, we're just like, okay, he's just hand-to-hand fighting someone as a house is kind of slowly sinking into the water. I don't think that canal's that deep, by the way, but it doesn't matter. Like, we didn't need that scene to happen. I think it needed from a story perspective to happen, but from this is 2.5 hours into this movie. Oh, we're going, like, you do feel a little drained by the time you get to it. And you're like, I don't need to watch him. And granted, there's a cool part where he gets a fucking nail in his shoulder and just rips it out. That's cool.
Damn.
But we needed to get to that part where Vesper dies and he feels something, right? We needed that. But I think we could have cut out 20 minutes of this movie somewhere. It would have been okay. And unfortunately, the only place I think you could cut it out was the fucking Texas Hold'em match that lasts forever.
All right. So before we get into actually, I want to start the plot. But for James Bond, we're going to do something special. We're going to rank the Bond intros.
Oh.
Love it.
So let's start with this, Nick. Like, just talk about it.
Oh, the Chris Cornell intro. Now, this movie, this is 2006. I'm going to throw some knowledge at you. And I didn't fact check this, so I might be wrong.
Great.
But I'm pretty sure this is when the Trap Code Suite hit After Effects and everyone and their fucking mother was using 3D stroke. It's like 3D stroke, form, and echo space. So everything was like echoing and like lines were being drawn everywhere. I think someone just invested in this.
And it's a perfect example of what I was saying earlier about
dated.
It's a sign of the times where it's just like, that was dope as fuck. But now you look at it, you're just like, all right, it's super hot.
Yeah, now we have intros that are like, and like there's particles and shit everywhere because they're just so easy to do.
Yeah, they look like a Virtua Fighter character.
Yeah.
But the idea that they were like, let's get Chris Cornell to do a song for this. And it was so good, they play it again in the ending credits. At the end, I'm like, I love it. I love this fucking song.
I love the use of the theme in the score throughout the movie as well. It really ties it all together. But just the colors, and as cheesy as some of it is, like the outlines of the characters like exploding into
hearts,
into the hearts and the spades and
diamonds and all stuff.
So fucking cool. The reds and blacks. It's just like, oh my god, I love it. And also, like Chris Cornell and all. It's in theory, I should not like that song. And when you hear it, you're kind of like, this is weird for a James Bond theme. But then by the end of it, I'm like, I fucking love this shit. Like, I want to play it again.
It's got a really good melody.
I will say, and you know, obviously, if this is your first time watching a Bond film, if you've never watched them before, this continues the tradition of really, really cool, artistically directed title sequences that bring in a high-level artist, like a musical artist, to do the theme song for it. Of course, you know, back in the day when Martin Campbell did GoldenEye, he brought in Tina Turner to do the GoldenEye song. And it, to me, is one of the hottest things ever put down.
Who did Die Another Day?
Madonna did Die Another Day.
She did.
Madonna did Die Another Day. I think, let's see, what was it?
Shaggy did.
Yeah, I forgot who did The World Is Not Enough. What was the one before that? It was Die Another Day.
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Tomorrow Never Dies was Sheryl Crow, I want to say.
That special agent.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was good. Tomorrow Never Dies is dope as well.
Yeah.
And they're all great, and that's so fun because they don't need to do this. They don't need to spend the extra $1 million or whatever it is, or $2 million to get Chris Cornell to write a fucking original song for this. But they do it, and if you're a Bond, if you're a fan of the series, you get kind of hyped when you go, oh, who's going to be, like, this year we were like, who's it going to be? And I think Barrett said it'd be cool if they got Billie Eilish, and we were like, that's dope. Yes. And then she made a song, and we were like, that's not dope.
No.
That's not Adele.
It's not dope. But
when they announced that Adele was doing Skyfall,
it's so close to the previous songs.
Here's the deal of what we're going to do with this. We are ranking the intros, which means we're not ranking the songs, and we're not ranking the motion graphics. We're ranking them as a unit.
All one.
I'd like to nominate this one for number 1.
So currently this one, I also say number 1.
That's crazy.
There we go.
I put it as number 5.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
Sucks for you.
Having not seen any of the other ones,
I'm
going to guess that this ends at number 4.
You're wrong. I would guess this ends at number 3 or 2.
Okay.
In my opinion.
I would guess 3.
Because you have to remember, your words, Spectre was Sam Smith, and
I haven't seen the other one.
Boy, that song is so indicative of that movie.
And this, I did not like Spectres either way. But we're not talking about that today. Today we're talking about Casino Royale. Nick.
Yeah.
Well, Andy.
Nick time for the plot.
Ladies,
time for the plot.
There it is.
It's the lyric, I guess.
Got it, man.
Like no time for the plot. I get it. Yeah. Good job.
Ladies and gentlemen, we start in the past. It's black and white, and I love this. I've never seen a Bond movie do this before. We just start black and white. Dryden pulls up to his building.
Wait, this isn't a thing? The black and white?
Not that I can remember.
Hella film grade.
This is a
Holy shit.
So much.
This is a cool flashback, and it's awesome.
I thought that this was like a thing in the older ones where they start with the black and white, but
I think you're thinking Mission Impossible. That happens.
Wizard of Oz.
Please don't touch me. Stop.
Really quick, when I started the movie, for like a good 30 seconds, I was like, "Fuck,
what's wrong with the visuals?
Did I rent the wrong movie?"
That's awesome. No, to the best of my knowledge, they've never used this, but it's just a cool editing technique. It immediately visually tells us, hey, we're back in time and past. And he pulls up to a building, rolls up to his office, and of course Bond's pulling the old, hey, I've been waiting here for you. Turns the light on, right, and we see his gun, and they have a great back and forth, right, where Dryden's like, I'm a little disappointed because I would have thought that, and of course Dryden is the station head of wherever they're, I think they're in Berlin or something, and he's like, I'm a little disappointed because I would have thought that a man of my stature would have warranted a 00 coming after me, and as far as I know, you're not a 00 because in order to be a 00, you have to have 2 confirmed kills.
Big dick.
And
that's
just
what the
big old fat.
That's what the
big
O's
D.
are. They're kills.
Exactly. And then we get a great cut to his first kill, which is the most gory, fucking violent thing ever, where he's just beating the shit out of a guy in a bathroom stall and then drowns him in the sink.
Fuck yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And then they have this other great, the guy has the great line of dialogue where he's like, oh, how did he die? He's like, your contact? Not well. He's drowning him in the sink, and he goes, basically that first kill is difficult, right? He made you feel it, is what he says. He made you feel it, did he? And he's like, don't worry. The second kill is, and before he can get the sentence out, he shoots him and goes, yes. Basically
considerably.
Considerably.
Holy
God.
shit. That's what I'm saying. This
What a
movie
way.
starts off this way, and it's just fucking, it's a poker match.
I mean, every back and forth is that. And
It's
I love
so
that.
cool.
Because before we get to
Poker
that, he goes, he has this great other line where he's like, shame we barely know each other, right? And he pulls his gun, and as he pulls the trigger, there's no bullets in it. He goes, well, I know where you keep your gun.
Fuck.
That's something.
Goddamn.
Very, very cool. And of course, as he shoots the guy, we get a cool little edit here where we see a picture of the guy's family. I don't know if you guys saw that. It was a quick flash frame of as the camera moves and the guy gets shot back, we get a picture of his family and the people that in his life. It's pretty interesting. And then of course, as he pulls it, the song kicks up, and we get the classic through the barrel. We're seeing him through the barrel.
The bathroom guy pops up again.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's what it is. The bathroom guy pops up and he turns, and as he turns, he shoots him, and the barrel comes in, and it's the classic blood coming down, camera shaking as the Bond theme plays.
Cool.
In this case, it's the amazing song by Chris Cornell. You Know My Name. We already ranked it at number 1.
Go on and
then
save yourself.
at the end of it, we get a quick little graphic. I don't know if you guys caught this, but Bond's 00 status is confirmed. So he's now a 00, which is cool. And then we cut over to Uganda, where Mr. White is meeting with Obano to discuss a deal about him and his employer, Le Chiffre. a bad guy so dope he cries blood and has asthma. Le Chiffre is a banker who I like this. He's just a banker. He's a guy that just believes in a reasonable rate of return. I don't know if you know what Le Chiffre stands for, but it's French for
chief.
the number.
Oh.
Yeah, I looked that up.
You, Andy.
The chief.
The chief.
It's French for the captain. The chief, of course, calls his investors and tells him after he gets Obano's money to short all the shares of an airline company despite it going against the market. He's got a plan. We don't know what that is yet. We cut over to Madagascar, where Bond is watching a cobra fight a mongoose.
Yep.
Okay.
Fucking cool as hell.
Fucking cool. That mongoose is ready
Real
to go.
tense, you know? You're just like, I don't want any part of
And I
that.
love this because, again, a lot of this visual storytelling here is cool. It's a fucking dangerous thing fighting another dangerous thing, and you're like, maybe the cobra's going to win, but everyone knows the mongoose can fuck up a cobra, and I love this because this is Bond and Le Chiffre, and some might say Bond versus himself
Wow.
and his demons.
I just love how like
They're fighting, and of course, what's up?
the two most obvious secret agents are in this area, and like nobody's paying attention
Because they're
to them.
super British, and everyone else is not.
the guy like 007 is like, get your hand out of
Yeah,
your
that's
ear.
funny.
Like,
Yeah.
stop fucking.
You
looking
guys,
at
Apparently
me.
they
you
brought
guys
the
mentioned
fucking
that
noob.
in another movie. I forgot what other movie we were reviewing
Probably Mission
in the past year,
Impossible,
and you
I
mentioned
imagine.
like that there's a scene in what Casino Royale.
Yeah.
Like, put your damn hand.
It's like,
Quit
stop
putting your
putting
hand up to your ear. Yeah, it's so great.
He's
I
like,
really
what?
enjoyed
What?
that.
He's like, you're a fucking moron. Of course, the bomber, before he sees Carter do that, he gets a text that says ellipse. And you're like, oh, that's very cool. And then, of course, he sees Carter and realizes that he's been, someone knows where he's at. So the chase is on. And unfortunately for Bond, they don't teach parkour at MI6 because this motherfucker knows what he's doing. And instead, of course, we get what we in the industry call just a fucking brute motherfucking force. So this is
God,
like
it's so
skill
cool.
versus this roaming tank of a man.
There's the
that is
moment
James Bond.
There's the moment where the bomber dives through like one of those like
Little holes in the
windows,
drywall, yeah.
over the drywall, and Bond just breaks through the wall like a goddamn bull.
What I
And
love,
it's so cool.
What I love though is that like I just wanted, as the parkour bomber guy is like climbing up the crane, I just want to be like, just stay down there and like, what's he? Just look at him. Like,
what's his
if the
move?
guy just stays up there, you're just like, all right, where are you gonna go next? Like, I don't have to follow you tit for tat. You're gonna jump on the next crane, and I'll look at you jump on the next crane.
But literally, the guy climbs up the cranes, and then Bond like runs up one of those giant, I guess another crane. This crane versus crane, and I just love how they choreographed this because yeah, Kevin's right. Like they have these great moments where this guy uses like his stealth and his maneuverability to get around these obstacles, and Bond just runs right through them. There's a great part too where he's on the man lift and he just hits the fucking hydraulic part and
Yeah.
it just
Drops
slams
down,
down,
yeah.
and that's cool. Of course, very very fun chase that ends at the embassy where Bond
lift.
sneaks in. And then instead of using subterfuge or any sort of subtlety, he just walks right up to the guy that's running the embassy and punches him in the fucking face. And then beats the shit out of the bomber and walks him out of the embassy at gunpoint. Very careful, of course, not to kill any of the people that work at the embassy because they're innocent.
This scene is so cool, the way he goes around not killing people,
Yeah.
but also like shooting a pipe so it shoots water at it, hitting that dude in the face, pushing another guy down the stairs as a squad is coming up the stairs.
Here's
All
a
of it
great
is
moment
so
where
cool
he like
until
hits two people with, like, at the same time.
until the end where he shoots the tank and like it blows up and probably kills some people.
Yeah, I probably killed a couple
That was
people.
funny because that explosion happens, and they do the top-down view, and there's no person in the scene.
Yeah.
And then the next
There's-
scene,
there's-
pop up.
yeah.
Everybody's like on the ground, like, where were they?
So he gets the bomber and he's cornered outside and so instead of letting the bomber go, he pulls out a second gun and shoots the bomber and then shoots the propane tank that explodes. I don't understand quite how this happened, and I'm going to chalk it up to the fact that the explosion did it. But there's a 2% chance that Bond actually ripped through those gates himself. Just throw that out
way
there.
the
Because it looks like a goddamn wild animal tore the gates open.
It looked like a pickup truck went through
Yeah.
the gates. Yeah.
And I'm like, but like
The rhino escaped.
No.
but like in the blocking of the scene, like in order for the explosion to have blown those gates up, it would have had to have gone through
'em.
Bond.
Yeah.
So you have to think like, did he just rip the? Doesn't matter. Let's see. Bond has taken the bomber's stuff and looks through his text messages and reads the word ellipse on the bomb maker's phone. What could that mean? But who gives a shit now because we're playing poker in the middle of a fucking sexy harbor. And there's sexy women and sexy poker players. And we're over at Le Chiffre's dope-ass yacht where he's playing poker with, again, 2 nondescript old people. I don't understand that we go from this amazing shot of this beautiful model coming out of the water. And she walks in and it's like, my friend's 2 parents sitting over there playing poker with Le Chiffre, and you're like, who are these fucking? Why? It's not
Bonnie and Reginald.
See, I kind of like it though. Like I feel like it really fits the vibe of what Le Chiffre's doing, where it's like he's a banker that's dealing with just like people with a lot of money.
Yeah, I get
that
it.
aren't necessarily like they're not all bad guys.
I get it.
They're not all the
but when they do eventually bring in the rogues gallery of poker players, they're a little weird and off too. And
I
they don't
like
look very,
Same thing. Those are people.
All
that
I
are
wanted
like
to see was that old Asian
high
woman
stake-
play some poker, and we didn't get to see it. We were robbed.
It's oh my god, man! It's just it
Nick,
was a little
it's
weird
high
to me.
stakes poker. Like, have you ever seen what those people look like?
You ever see Daniel Negreanu and then that one old guy who's like 190 who's still playing?
Super serious though, right? The whole
Oh
time.
yeah,
high
he just got the
stakes
little cowboy
Yeah,
head. He kind of
it
reminds me of the old
is.
man
So
in
cool.
Pawn
Characters. That's who
Stars.
plays poker.
It's true. It's true enough. Of course, Le Chiffre's playing poker with the heavy rollers, and you know the old saying, play until one of your eyes starts bleeding. But his game is interrupted with the news that the bomb maker is dead, which interrupts his plans, and he's pissed. Back at Parliament, M just got chewed out by the powers that be, and she is pissed also. And she has a great line where she walks out and she goes, in the old days, if an agent did something that embarrassing, he'd have the good sense to defect.
Dude, what a great
She's
scene.
so
I love it
cool.
because it immediately, you can have no history with Bond. Like, everybody,
You get it.
even without
That
history,
line right
you
there is
know who
perfect.
she is kind of. But like this scene, you're like, I get the relationship. I understand what's going on. She's just such a fucking badass. She's
She's
like,
sassy
I'm here.
boss. I
I
love
love
it.
it.
Fucking awesome.
She has such good moments that like later when he's like, that's how I figured out your name too. She's like, say one more syllable and I'll fucking have you killed. And he's just like, all right.
Of course, we cut over to Bond, who's sitting in the dark, tracing the text message source to a place in Miami, specifically a place called the Ocean Club. And it turns out that he's actually in M's apartment, which is weird. When she comes home, she is not happy to do that. I think he's playing solitaire, which is cool. Like he's playing a card game of some sort. I couldn't pick up which one it was, but it's kind of, again, I like that of just him.
he
He's
likes
sitting there
playing
playing cards, but he has no one to play with but himself. I didn't mean that in a sexual way. She gives him a tongue lashing, of
Shocker.
course, and she tells him like, any thug can kill. I
gives
want
him
you to
a tongue
take.
lashing.
I didn't mean that sexually. She gives him a tongue lashing.
The old tongue lashing.
She
Oh,
goes,
he's playing with himself.
and they have that great, and again, they have a great back and forth where she gives him shit because she's like, you killed the guy, and he goes like, well, I thought one less bomber in the world was a good thing, and she goes, that's your problem. Like, you didn't really think. You just acted. You're a thug. Any thug can kill. I want you to take your ego out of the equation and judge the situation dispassionately. Basically, like, dude, think of the bigger ramifications of your actions, right? You're a 007 now. You have to be a little bit more globally.
Don't ever come in my fucking house again.
Oh, and she goes, and if you, yeah, I love that line. She's like, Bond, don't ever break into my house again. And you're like, and she's kind of looking over her shoulder as it is, and you're like, damn,
Fair enough.
that is fucking fair, right? And then she tells him to go stick his head in the sand and wait it out for a while. And he, of course, does that in style. And he flies into Miami and just looks so fucking good as he gets off the plane. But it's a red herring because we hear the theme play and we see this beautiful environment. And then what does he get into? A fucking Ford Focus or whatever the hell that car was. And I in the theaters, I remember audibly laughing out loud. I was like, that was great.
Yeah.
Because he's not Bond yet. He doesn't drive the Aston Martin yet. There's no reason for him to. He should be in a nondescript like rental car, which is all this is. And also, I'm pretty sure Ford sponsored it. But he goes, of course, over there. Let's see. He pulls up to the Ocean Club, and then we get a shout out from the cameo by I think it was 2 Victoria's Secret models. I think it was like I forget their names, but they were big at the time. Remember, as he's walking by, these 2 girls look at him, and one of them was
I didn't know that they were people.
Miranda.
Big-
not
the other
Miranda
was Tora.
Kerr. It was the other one.
It's the only one that I know.
Crap.
I was just.
Kevin went through his knowledge bank
I
on
want
that.
to say Ariana Grande, but that's not her name. It's
No,
something
It's
like
definitely
that.
not.
It's
It was
something
closer
like
than that.
Adriana Lima, I think, was one of them. I could be wrong. It might have been the other one. But anyway, it's 2 Victoria's
That's
Secret models walk
another
by,
one that-
and you look over like, oh, that's cool. They have a
guess
little
another
cameo
two.
there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, 2 fat cats pull up with a Range Rover, and they try to get him to, they're like, hey, park the car. And he's like, sure. And you think he's just being an asshole at first, and you're like, oh, that's not a smart thing to do because you've caused this big distraction now. But it turns out Bond is thinking globally because that's the diversion he needs to sneak into the security room so that he can pull the footage and try to figure out who sent that text message.
And I love how matter of fact it is. I love how just like he gets the keys and like You can tell it's he's simultaneously thinking and doing it at the same time. It's just like boom, 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 get in the fucking car, fuck this shit.
But you're gonna make me wait, or you're gonna move my? And he's like, oh yes, sir, sorry, sir. Like
I love this. I feel like there's multiple times in this movie where he has little moments of mischief. Where he like looks back at something he's done, and he's like,
I did that.
You know what I mean?
He's definitely having fun. Of course, as he scans through the security footage,
You know what I'm
That's
talking
gonna
about?
be the sequel to No Time to Die.
It's just
You
gonna
know what I'm talking about? Like later when he
Bond putting whoopee cushions on people's seats.
there was something else that happens later on.
The torture scene.
No,
talking
but it
shit.
was maybe it was when they found the dead bodies in the trunk. And
Oh,
the
yeah.
other guy, and they're both like,
We got him.
that guy, that random chauffeur, his life is fucked forever
yeah.
now. We screwed him over. Of course, he scans through all the security footage until he spots Demetrios getting out of a 1964 Aston Martin, and he was like, okay, that's my guy, but I don't know who he is. So he goes over to the amazingly good-looking blonde concierge and says, I'm embarrassed that last time I parked here, I scratched a 1964 Aston Martin, and I'd like to talk to the owner. And she goes, oh, if he hasn't noticed yet, that's Mr. Demetrius. If he hasn't noticed yet, I don't think you should tell him. He's not the kind of guy to take that news lightly. And then Bond goes, but what if I felt compelled to tell him?
And it's like I don't find Daniel Craig attractive.
And
There's
then
something about him that
yeah.
I'm just like, you just look like an old guy.
You're just jealous he's got better eyes than you,
I
bro.
just saw him walk by these girls, and these girls fucking lose their minds. I'm like, are you with this guy? But then he says things like that. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh.
And the great
fuck.
accent, yeah.
Shit.
The thing I was telling Tim and Nick is that his facial features remind me of they're so exact. They're so
why didn't you tell me?
extreme. I didn't tell you, Kevin. I'm sorry, but he reminds me of a character in oh gosh, what was the video game I was just talking about? The one
Final
by
Fantasy: The
Bethesda.
Spirits
no,
Within.
No. The character design. Dishonored.
Oh,
he reminds
yeah.
me. Like his facial features are so extreme. He reminds me of a Dishonored. Like he's a stylized.
Yeah.
His brow is like super low and shit.
Well, I wonder
And he's like
also-
kind of a weird kind of handsome. you
I
know?
wonder also
Yeah.
if they color
It's a
corrected it so his
brutal
eyes are
handsome.
more blue.
They
'Cause I don't-
must.
and
They
they must
must.
have, because
They
in
have
certain
to.
scenes his
That's
eyes
not
are so
possible.
fucking blue.
They
Anyway.
really are.
Of course, she goes, oh, that's Mr. Demetrius. He has a house down the beach. And you know what they say, Tim? The best way to get close to a subject when you don't want him to know that you're stalking him
Fuck his wife.
is to, is to hide in plain sight
The old Nick Scarpino, man.
and strap on the world's
Hold on.
skimpiest.
Wait, did we see the wife yet?
Oh, we saw the wife riding the horse.
The wife's debut is I'm just gonna wear a bikini and I'm gonna ride a horse around a bunch
beautiful
of kids,
white stallion,
thus ensuring that
as
their lives
local-
have this embedded in their minds for the rest of
Yeah,
them.
those kids got shot put into puberty when they were watching this woman ride this
bounce.
beast down white sandy beach of what I thought was the Bahamas at first. Turns out we're just in fucking Miami, but whatever. Doesn't
Were
matter.
they born in labs? Now it's time to rank
I think it
those
is the Bahamas.
abs.
Ladies and fucking gentlemen, we have arrived. I think that in many ways, all of my life has built up to this point.
to
I'm your
talking
host,
about this on a show.
Nick Scarpino. This, to me, is the most iconic James Bond, Daniel Craig shot ever put on celluloid. And that's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is the celluloid era. We're not doing this fucking digital bullshit for this movie unless I'm wrong. I haven't checked. Doesn't matter.
Why would
Daniel Craig coming out of the water in this little skimpy MMA Euro metrosexual bathing suit of his was an awakening for a lot of people. And I like to
There's
think to
been an
myself,
awakening.
one day, I'm going to fucking finally get off my fat ass and get that jacked. And I'm going to recreate that scene just for my wife, who will not appreciate it and or care or pretty much know it's happening at the time. Because every time I'm in a pool, I do it. She does not look my way.
Nope.
It does
You
not
don't
matter.
look like him though.
Holy fuck, you look good.
But
he
I will
looks,
say
he
this,
looks
Kevin.
better in the scene later when he's being tortured, because I think he dehydrated himself a little more. He's got more definition in his muscles, but his body in this looks fucking phenomenal.
It's funny that you say that Nick doesn't look like that, because while we were at the Best Buy and Tim is behind the box set,
don't know.
Nick is also holding the box set, and he goes, "What would you do if I looked like that?"
What would you?
I fucking love it.
I didn't
Now,
know.
I will
I
say
have
this,
nothing to
adding
say.
to this scene for a second, Nick, is for the amount I talk about Fast and Furious and in the eyes and ears of many of the listeners out there, are like, okay, we fucking get it. I will never forget first starting at IGN in 2010 or whatever I did, which was at this point years after this movie had come out. And like, for all intents and purposes, this movie was irrelevant then. Like, James Bond, that was after Quantum, which was like a low point.
Quantum
And
took a
everybody was
dip,
like,
yeah.
no one gave a fuck about James Bond at this point. I swear to God, Nick brought up this scene every single day. Every single day he found a way to bring it up.
I photoshopped Fran's head onto his body multiple times to get the lighting correct, and it was great.
And it's just like the amount of times it came up was shocking. But here we are.
And when you watched it, did it affect you?
It did. It really did. What's up, Barrett?
He looked great.
Just really quick, we are in the Bahamas right now. It's later when he's chasing Demetrius. Demetrius is going to Miami.
Oh, okay, so he drives from the Bahamas to. Oh, does he fly over there?
Yeah, he
flies.
flies.
Yeah, when they go to
There's a
fly
quick
Miami.
reference
Okay.
of like
That
when
makes
he's
more
banging the
sense.
girl.
That
He's
makes
just
more
like, or
sense.
doesn't bang. Almost bangs.
He's like, I'm
Almost
taking the
bangs.
last flight to Miami. That's right.
But Nick, do you want to do the little fun segment we have?
We have a new fun segment
We
for
do.
everyone, ladies
This
and
is,
gentlemen, because Bond is both about the physicality and also the fashion. One of my friends, fellow comedian Janesh Rollin, has decided to be our fashion correspondent for the entire Bond series. And he's going to give us 15 seconds of fashion starting now. Well, here we go. We're going to go into it.
That's probably
This
not.
motherfucker.
This is good.
Hey, my name is Janesh Rollin. Some of you may recognize me as Nick's young Indian lover from Instagram. I wanted to talk about Daniel Craig's fashion in Casino Royale, because this is a really good show of how his character has evolved over time, because in the beginning of this movie, he was just getting to become a 00 for the first time, and it was apparent in his outfits because they were a lot more casual, and he wasn't as comfortable in the suit until the end when he's finally in a 3-piece suit. Because no man is forced to wear a 3-piece. He wears it because he has class.
Thank you.
All right.
Dinesh.
Thanks,
Appreciate it.
Thanks for that killer insight into the fashion of James Bond.
Love it. There we go. There we go.
I do love that like we could have done without the power outlet in the shop. We didn't need
No, my
that.
favorite thing was like, you bring it up
TP-Link,
again
like,
real quick.
wireless
Just
one.
the image. I love that the wine glass is like the focus and in the foreground so much that it looks like the world's biggest wine glass.
It looks like a
Dinesh doesn't
giant
fuck
chalice.
around, man.
I fucking love it. Dude.
I also love that he texted me the night before. He's like, I'm going to do this shirtless. And it wasn't a question. It was just, I'm going to do this shirtless. And I was like,
Fantastic.
you should do it shirtless.
Yeah.
You absolutely should do it. That is a big-ass wine. That's a big wine glass. That's really, really great. All right. So we cut back over, and M gets a call from her, I guess, little right-hand man, Villers, who snitches on Bond, says he's looking at Alex Dimitrios, a known associate of Le Chiffre. He heads over to the bingo table at the old folks' home to play the most
Wait, hold
exotic of all gambling games,
Real quick.
Texas Hold'em.
He hits M up and he's like, hey, he's looking up this guy using your login.
How the fuck did he get my password?
Another good moment of
Yeah.
like, what the fuck, man?
This guy's annoying. Why did I promote him?
So the fact that this is in the Bahamas, originally I was like, oh, this is in the Bahamas, then I thought I had it wrong, so I thought I had it in Miami. But the fact that this is in the Bahamas, again, is exactly what I'm talking about. Why is this in the back room of my fucking Grandma Scarpino's old folks' home? Why did they cast
I didn't notice this at all.
But like, none of this is glamorous at all. None of this is sexy. And why would this guy, who is this multi-millionaire fucking like bad guy, like funds terrorists, why would he choose to spend his Saturday night at this place
I agree.
with fucking Florence, the dealer they trucked in from Reno, Nevada?
And the
But
machine.
this isn't Le Chiffre, right? This is the other dude.
Yeah, but like the idea behind Bond was always supposed to be that everyone was like glamorous and dangerous
Elegance.
and sexy.
'Cause
And in this,
I
it
thought
literally
that-
looks like Laughlin, Nevada.
I thought this guy was very much a middleman that was just getting Le Chiffre a contact with a bomber.
They did mention that.
But we saw his house that is an amazing mansion on the white sandy beaches with his gorgeous model wife
Timeshare. He's
and
got
his
it for 2
amazing
weeks.
1964 Aston Martin. So everything else in this guy's
Sure.
life is sexy and cool and exotic and something to own and something to collect. And then he goes, you know, we gotta go. I gotta go to my fucking my grandpa's club because he wants to see me.
It's
So
his
I gotta go
local
over
club.
there.
It's his
And then those
local
two,
club.
and then it's also punctuated by the two overweight white dudes that are just sitting at the bar like, what the fuck are you doing here?
They were there for the buffet.
Yeah, literally. But I digress. They're playing Texas Hold'em, which I always thought was a weird choice. But Demetrius, it turns out, is an asshole to his wife, so Bond beats the brakes off of him and wins his famous 1964 Aston Martin, which I thought was a really, really fun little nod to how Bond would have had a car like that. He doesn't have a lot of money, so the fact that he was able to win it in a poker match, I think, is really, really cool.
Like, why would you be in this line of work if you're not making fucking bank?
What, Bond?
You know? Yeah.
Because you like to kill people. He has a fucking license to kill. Literally.
No, I mean he's probably making bank, but he just probably hasn't bought the car. You know?
Sure.
Well, I can't remember if they said it or not, but like it was always sort of understood that Bond just like when he won money and shit like this, just had it, like he kept it.
Oh.
So I don't know. Because he always had this lavish lifestyle, and you're like, there's got to be an expense report somewhere.
Sure.
Some accountant somewhere is like,
Yeah.
dude, the fucking 89 Bollinger, like, it's a fucking $2,000 bond. Why? Of course, Demetrius, he wins the car. And I like this. I like that this is how he wins the car. What I don't like is that if you notice, this car is just a normal car. It is a vintage 1964 Aston Martin. Just pay special attention to the fact that at no point were machine guns installed in the headlamps or was armor installed in the siding or the glass. This is just a normal car. Just keep that in mind for 2 movies from now when we see it again. And it's not a normal car anymore.
No future spoilers, Nick.
Okay?
Stop.
And it makes no fucking sense and completely and totally destroys the grounded nature that this world is.
It got retrofitted.
Just letting you go.
Yeah, Q went in there. Q went in there.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so I've already talked about how the dealer looks like they stole her from Laughlin, Nevada. Bond,
Chat doesn't
of course.
like it
What's that?
No, they're just 2 people. Boo! Just stop, Nick.
I'm just saying, if you like this movie, you can't like Skyfall. Bond gives Demetrius a ride home, and I love it. She goes, "You live very far?" He goes, "I live pretty close."
So
and they get in the car.
unnecessary.
So
In
sexy,
the best
though.
way, though. Yeah,
That
I
would get me
fucking love
so
it.
fucking wet, I'd slide
Yeah.
right out of my dress.
Jesus.
Oh my God.
Jesus Christ.
Why? God, that's
I was
grabbing.
about to read the ad, too. Let's just keep
I
going.
guess
We'll do it
not.
a couple more minutes. Everyone be cool. Don't talk about your boy parts being wet. The Shifra tells Demetrius to line up
God.
another bomber. Meanwhile, the Bond is lining up to drop a bomb on the ass. You know what I mean? I wrote that line.
Okay, we
I had to
gotta
read it.
delay it more.
I had
We
to
gotta
read it.
delay the ad
No,
more.
it's okay. It's okay. I give it up on reading it for a while.
Bond, of
We're
course,
at this scene, so
Bond plows Demetrius' wife for information.
yeah.
Yeah.
But he doesn't.
Penetrates her to get
It
information.
penetrates her soul,
Yeah.
and then of course finds out that that Demetrius is taking the last flight out to Miami, and then we have this great moment where Bond goes, "We're going to need more champagne," and he orders it, and he goes, "What? No, for one." You get the point that he's
Later.
going to lead her. He's
Boom.
going to leave her there. Boom.
Welcome
and
to
he takes off.
Miami.
Exactly.
Damn.
Bienvenido
How about
a
blue balls,
Miami. Bond follows Demetrius to the weirdest exhibit ever. That was actually a real exhibit, if I'm not mistaken. Which, what was it called? The human body, or like the body?
Inside something. I
Yeah.
can't remember. And it's cadavers that have been like muscles have been removed, skin's been removed to expose structures underneath.
He looks over and he sees Demetrius like drop a bag off, and then he gives like his little key to wherever the bag is, I guess. Puts it on the table. Bond sees that, and I'll tell you this: I want you guys to play again. I'm not going to say that the American CIA is far superior to MI6. I'm not going to say that. Okay, I've never gone through either programs, but I will say that nobody knew who fucking Felix Leiter was. Okay, did you see Felix Leiter ever, other than when he wanted you to see him?
Was he in the scene?
Maybe. We don't know because we didn't see him.
But
what we did see is that every single time in this movie Bond tries to follow someone, he fucking fails miserably at it.
But wait,
every time. So I don't know what they're teaching people at MI6, but it's certainly not parkour, and it's certainly not how to tail a subject.
But it is definitely to do a very quiet dance with the knife.
Oh, that was dope.
It was dope.
And he turns back around at him, and then he stabs him in the heart.
This man's dead.
And then
now.
and then he covers his face and he goes, "Don't disturb my friend. He's dead tired."
It was one of those moments that I
Commando.
like. Oh, he just killed.
But
her
I just
husband.
don't understand why you're giving Felix all this credit. He wasn't there. You're just implying.
You don't know
that
if he was
might have
there or
been
not
there.
because if you
it's
wanted
not
to
his
see him,
movie.
you'd see him.
He also
one
didn't
wants to go
stop the
see
plane for
Felix.
getting exploded.
I'm just saying, Bond. We see it again later when he follows. Okay, so of course he kills the guy. Looks over. The key is gone. The bag is gone. He goes, crap. Thinking with his brain, he goes, oh, I'll call the number. And when he does, he sees the bomber pick up a guy. He goes, hello, cool. I'm gonna follow that guy. Follows him to the airport, and then of course, again, immediately gets spotted. I don't understand why Bond doesn't understand. He sticks out like a fucking sore thumb
okay.
everywhere.
Can we talk about the way he got spotted, though?
Through the like,
The dude, looking at the sunglasses or whatever, sees him in the mirror.
and Bond's just like this.
Bond looks over, and then we see him just drop down.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh.
why did they show us that shot?
I
Like,
don't know.
show him to just not be there. Like,
Or
it's
show
so
the car
fucking
going in
comically
front,
weird.
you know?
Because that's in the airport at this point.
No,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they had it was one of those like the ones they use to help people transport people. Like when he looks back and he's gone, you see the tail end of that one of those driving by, and it's like, okay, he's clearly sneaking behind it.
It's fucking weird.
Either way,
on the side of the guy.
Bond doesn't know.
Another story like about that of him just dropping down and just feeling like really fucking weird. Speaking of the time we bought the DVDs or Blu-rays when we were at Best Buy with Nick, we had lost Nick. We were all in a group leaving. Nick was way in Best Buy somewhere, and I just go Nick to get his attention, and he just pops up like a prairie dog, and his head was perfectly above the aisle,
just an inch above the aisle.
It was so perfect.
That was super fun.
And then you fought a cobra.
I fought a cobra.
Like a mongoose.
Like a little mongoose.
That's very cool.
Earlier?
Oh yeah. I would definitely be the mongoose, not the cobra. Thankfully, he spots the dude. He spots the dude coming out of a dressing room, or someone's like, "Hey, someone left a bag in the dressing room." And he's like, "Oh, he must have changed." And he looks over and he sees the guy has changed into a security guard outfit. But before he could get to him, the guy goes through a security door, and he's like, "Crap! I don't know what to do. I'll call mom." So he calls M, and he's like, "Hey, just get her on the phone." And Villar's is like, "Oh, I'm sorry, she's busy right now." And he's like, "Dude, I'm calling at 10 o'clock at night. What do you think? I'm just calling to say hello and see what she had for lunch, see if mom took her pills? No, get her on the damn phone right now."
I don't like you call her mom.
Because,
also, it's an 8-hour difference between the UK
because somebody is about to blow up something at this airport. There's a bomb at the airport, and he goes, "Okay, hold on, I'll get her." And then Bond, of course, realizes, "Oh wait." Ellipse looks at the thing.
Ellipsis.
And goes, ellipses, maybe ellipses.
Yep.
Maybe that's the code to the door.
I didn't know he was gonna keep going to that.
Okay. Does it? Boom! It's the code to the door.
Yeah.
And then he goes, "Crap! I gotta get all these people out of here because I don't know what the bomb's gonna do." So he pulls the fire alarm. Everyone starts running. The bomber, not swayed by this at all. Very wet. It's just like, I'm gonna keep going because this is my job.
Who pulled the alarm?
I thought the bomber did that.
Oh, did the bomber pull the alarm?
Yeah. To distract stuff.
Okay.
And
Well, that makes
confuse
more
one,
sense then.
yeah.
So it's confused and befuddle everyone. And then, of course, Bond is still on the phone with M, and M goes, "Oh, we figured out what he must be trying to bomb."
I like that. Like this, man. It's crazy when it's in this time period where it's like mid 2000s where
The
use
shot?
the search. No, the search.
Oh, that shot was hilarious.
Hilarious.
No, but like the search where like the dude Googled like the airport. The websites always look so weird.
Yeah, they are weird.
Oh, also phones in general.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that they're using flip phones for this whole thing is pretty amazing. Well, the flip phones are really that was Sony Ericsson's. I think this is still back
Sony
when
was all over
when
this
Sony
shit.
had the sponsorship because I think Sony did all the
still Sony.
broad movie. Oh, is it? Oh, because it's Sony Studios. That's right.
Yep.
That makes sense. Of course, they Google it. And they figure out that the Skyfleet prototype is being unveiled there tonight. Why they're unveiling a plane at, again, 10:30 at night.
Biggest plane.
It's big.
Just this big ass plane.
It's a big ass plane.
And there's like a guy in the corner who's like, "That's a big ass plane."
They're like, wow, they said it was big. But
Now, what I don't understand is if there's a terrorist act and someone blows up your plane, would that really just ruin your company?
When it's the biggest plane, it's like the Titanic ship sinking.
No, not at all. The
exactly
Titanic
like
hit
that.
an iceberg. That's
Yeah.
something like that's like
They didn't make
if
Titanic
they had
too.
hit a bomb. They made 3 Titanics.
Titanic.
Iceberg was a terrorist.
Catalina.
The Niantic or there was 3 of them. Tim
Niantic made Pokemon Go.
named after the Titanic.
Niña Pinta Santa Maria.
I don't know
different-
because you think that the only thing that would drive stocks down would be if there was a big mechanical failure like we
Exactly.
had with
So
the
it's like-
7, whatever, the last one where
Right, the
they were like, oh shit, we
737s.
can't land this
Yeah.
fucking thing because we didn't buy the right security protocol for the whatever the thing. You know, they screwed that up.
Oh, they're bad.
That would tank your stock prices, but even then, I'm
not
pretty sure
not
United
someone
or
hitting
Boeing
it
bounced
with a
back.
gas like thing that's
Well, the idea
spilling-
is maybe there's a terrorists are out for this thing, and no one's going to want to take these flights if people don't like it. I don't know.
Perhaps.
Either way, it was a momentary. All he was hoping was that the market would dip so that he could make money off of this.
Right.
And he's done it before. They mentioned there's another thing that happened.
Yeah,
and someone
similar.
made $100 million off.
Cool
it.
bad guy
9/11.
stuff.
After 9/11.
Pretty cool stuff. And that's what I want to. Again, we should stop there. I like that this movie. This is not about a world-ending thing, right? It's not about someone has a fucking giant
There's no
space laser.
nuke
There's
or
no
anything.
nuke.
There's no
There's
giant
no
blue
end of the
thing in the
world
sky.
that Bond has to. It is just a seemingly difficult situation that he has to
People-
use his wits and his physicality.
People
to
in the
overcome.
chat keep saying it's a prototype and that they're going to lose all the money. That's not how stuff works. Like all the money is invested in
The
like
R&D.
designing the
yeah,
prototype.
but you know that because you're a scientist, Kevin.
I know, but
But
these
this terrorist
idiots don't know
doesn't
shit. You know what I mean? Look at them.
Well, either way, he's just hoping to drive the stock prices down so he can
Yeah,
make money
yeah,
off it.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the idea behind it. And it's kind of cool, but he's, of course, gambling, as we later learn, with his clients' money. And his clients are not the kind of people that like to lose their money. They're fucking psychopaths who want to cut people's arms off. How do you get a machete into a hotel?
He
That's my
didn't
question.
want to
oh,
cut
you
the
see
arm
the way
off.
he had it just in his jacket? It was cool, man.
That motherfucker had a
The
whole
reveal
pocket
of a
sewn
machete in this
It's
movie
insane.
was a moment.
Insane, yeah.
I wish
like-
I had some need to carry a machete around.
Aloud in my room, I said, "This motherfucker's got a machete." It was just so out of nowhere.
Not even a word of protest. I like that. You gotta get a better boyfriend. Of course, we get a cool scene where it's back and forth, and they're beating the crap out of each other. And the bomber puts a little keychain bomb on the gas tank, starts driving it toward it, bails out. But right before he does, Bond grabs his pants. You don't know why. You're like, that's a weird thing to do, but you kind of know in the back of your mind, like, he's gonna want that bomb on him.
This whole scene was so cool.
I think it's cool.
Intense.
I like how he gets on the truck. He runs up one of the little stairs, the mobile stairs, then jumps onto it.
But like that happens like twice during the sequence, and it's
shout out
on,
to Daniel
off.
Craig running.
Yeah.
You know, we always talk about Ethan Hunt running, and goddamn, is it Tom Cruise the best runner in the world?
I don't want to compare the running.
We can't compare. But what I'm saying
Tom Cruise
is
definitely better at running.
Tom
Daniel
Cruise
Craig's way better at running.
No way.
Tom Cruise running looks like he's
fucking terrifying. He looks like a T-800 running at you.
he looks like a child whose only thing in life is running. That's my thing. That's what I do. Daniel Craig looks like, let's put it this way. Ethan Hunt looks like he's running away from something. Daniel Craig looks like he's running towards
Nick,
something.
we said we wouldn't compare this
I'm
running, but
comparing
like,
them.
I
don't care.
Tom Cruise looks like he's gonna murder you and he's gonna catch you. No matter if you get on a car and you start going
You put
faster,
Ethan Hunt-
Doesn't matter what
Tom
vehicle
Cruise,
you're in.
he's just gonna speed up.
You put Ethan Hunt against fucking Daniel Craig, James Bond, and James Bond murders him.
You're crazy.
Fucking
Oh my God.
murks him. Murks his
Do you
ass.
not remember the line when
Murks
fucking
his
Alec
ass.
Baldwin is like, "He is your destiny" or whatever? Do you not remember that?
Did you remember the part in Mission Impossible 3 where he runs through a fucking wall? Oh wait, it didn't happen in that movie. It happened at the beginning of this movie. He runs through drywall.
What drywall?
There's got to be a support stud in there somewhere.
I do want to say this.
You would have seen it broken off.
That's fair.
In one of the earlier scenes during all the parkour where Daniel Craig drives the vehicle through the thing, like, good for him for knowing that those windows are bulletproof, because he gets shot at.
He doesn't even it doesn't phase him.
And,
It just goes
but
pink,
it's-
pink. And why are they bulletproof?
Exactly. That's my point.
Why is a tractor's windows bulletproof? That's a needless expense for something that's never going to get shot at, you would assume.
Wait, so
When you want to do the ad read.
I'll get to it.
Okay.
We're brought to you by Indochino today, and I'm really hoping a suit gets brought up soon so I can segue from it, but I don't.
remember when she picks the
Well,
suit
we'll
for
get
him?
there. We'll get there in about
It's a while.
10
Yeah,
minutes.
I know it's going to be a while. So you know what, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about our sponsors. Today's episode brought to you by, guess what? Indochino. Here's the thing, man. Making a suit, it always just makes you feel better. You want to look like James Bond? You too can do that by going to Indochino.com. Or if you want, there's Indochino stores you can go to all around America. You get to choose all the personal touches, including your lining, lapel, and monogram. The customizations are all your choice, and there's no extra cost. You get to choose from hundreds of high-quality suit fabrics to pick the color, pattern, and weight that you like best. Weight, an overlooked thing when it comes to suits. Like, you think it's all about the looks. It's all about the feel as well, Andy. You know what I mean? You got to look good. You got to feel good.
I've never even thought about that. I've never considered the weight of a suit.
Yeah, man. It matters a lot. Indochino also sells custom shirts, coats, and chinos, so you can get a full custom wardrobe and stay looking fancy, looking fine. And like I was saying, they have showrooms across North America where one of their style guides can take your measurements and walk you through your process, or the process, or you can do it all from home at Indochino.com. And it's great because once you do it once, your size is saved, and anytime you're looking for stuff, you don't need to like input everything. It just like remembers you, and it like recommends you stuff. It's really fun and nice. Right now you get an extra $30 off any purchase of $3.99 or more at Indochino.com when entering morning at checkout. Shipping is free. That's Indochino.com, promo code morning for $30 off your total purchase of $3.99 or more for high quality custom suits for an off the rack price. Next up, I want to give a shout out to Upstart. And most of us have found out the hard way getting into debt is easy and getting out is hard, especially if your credit score isn't great. Thankfully now there's Upstart.com, the revolutionary lending platform that knows that you are more than your credit score and offer smarter interest rates to help you pay off high interest credit card debts. One of my best friends was going through some issues recently, and Upstart made it easy to consolidate all of the stuff into just one thing, which is a lot easier to focus on. Upstart goes beyond the traditional credit score when assessing your credit worthiness. They actually reward you based on your education and job history in the form of a smarter rate. They believe that you are more than just your credit score. They make it fast, simple, and easy to check your rate for yourself from the burden of high interest credit card debt by consolidating everything into one monthly payment with Upstart. See why Upstart's ranked number one in their category with over 300 businesses on Trustpilot. And hurry to upstart.com/morning to find out how low your Upstart rate is. Checking your rate only takes a few minutes. That's upstart.com/morning. And finally, shout out to Manscaped. Here's the deal, guys. We've all been there, Kevin. You know what I'm talking about.
I've nicked my balls. I've had blood everywhere.
And that's horrifying. horrifying. And
I don't know if you've ever looked down and just seen a trail of blood. It is terrifying.
Let's try to minimize that, please. And you can do that with Manscaped, specifically their Lawnmower 3.0. No more cuts and nicks with the Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0. This is their 3rd generation trimmer featuring advanced skin-safe technology so you can keep your bad boys nice and smooth. The Manscaped engineering team spent 18 months perfecting the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created.
Ow! I nicked my balls. Tim, what do I do?
I hate
you
that
should use the Lawnmower 3. I know. I really
It
do
bothers
too.
me so.
Sorry, let me try it again. Ow! I need my balls.
Oh, man. Let's not forget about the charging stand.
Stop making.
Show your mower off loud and proud because this intelligently designed stand is a rapid charging dock powered by USB. So you can show off your lawnmower for other people that are coming over like, wow, I bet Nick's balls are looking great right now.
Oh, man. Thanks to Manscaped, they are tight.
You need to try this for yourself. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code MORNING at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you, and your balls can also look like most of our balls at Kind of Funny. Because I've been
shorn,
using this.
cleanly
Barrett, you've been
shorn.
using it too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Barrett got good balls.
Good, smooth.
Anyway,
those balls.
back to it. 20% off free shipping with code MORNING at manscaped.com. Back to the plot.
Ooh. Of course, they're fighting. The guy rolls out of the truck, and Bond has to pull just a quick, fast one and skids toward, like, within a second inch of it just banging into the thing. Now, granted,
Is this where we get the dun-dun-dun shot?
No, that was before.
Okay.
So he
What the
realized,
hell?
He
Why
realized
did
he
he
saw
do
the
that?
dead body. He was like, "Oh, the guy's gonna go for the truck." So gets out of the truck. Of course, a bunch of security guards, a bunch of Miami sheriffs or whatever, the airport security come in and they get him onto the ground. Like, get on the ground. They beat the shit out of him and they put him on the hood and then he locks eyes.
And then he looks at him.
He locks
That's
eyes.
another
Yeah.
what did I call it?
A little mischievous moment. Mischief managed.
Moments of mischief.
Moments of mischief. That was another one. He's like, "No, we got
So he
you."
looks at the guy, and the guy looks at him. He's like, "I got you, man. You don't understand." And he pushes the button and goes beep 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 beep. And he's like, "Oh, why is my ass beeping?" Looks over, and Bond, of course, had
Boom,
hung
boom.
the
Cuts
Bond
the
on.
Bond. He's like,
and it's great because they do this totally thing where they were like, "We don't feel like lighting this, so let's just do an artificial like." It's kind of like a little bit of a flash frame, and they shook the camera, and it just the guy exploded off camera. And it was great.
It's fine, yeah.
It's
I didn't need to see him explode. You know, we
We
got it.
The next day, Bond and M discover Demetrius' wife. She's dead in a hammock, and so M puts a chip in Bond, like we wanted to do to
Real
Kevin one day.
graphic, too.
Yeah,
Just fucking
I mean,
awesome.
like,
tangled in that thing.
Those are two things I didn't expect from this movie. Like,
she's dead.
First off, like him stabbing him in the public,
Yeah,
in an
that
art
seems,
gallery, and then the wife dying as a consequence of him killing the guy because she was the only one who had answers. Like,
well, yeah. So the
I was just like, holy shit, this is really dark. So-
Really lucky the dude didn't start screaming. Because,
Yeah.
like, I get stabbed. It's like, right? You
That's a good
know what I
point.
mean?
That's a real good
Like,
point.
I would not in any way try to go quietly.
Yeah. Even when they're at with the thing where they're trying to stab each
Yeah.
other, I'd be like, "Help! He's murdering me! This guy's got a knife and piercing blue eyes." Of course, Le Chiffre has just lost $101 million. So he's like, someone talked, and of course, he just assumes it was the wife. I have no idea how he did. He knows it's her, but apparently, she has a history of just snitching on people. So let's fucking kill her and wrap her up in a hammock in the most gruesome and
It's a shame.
contorted way. So M explains to them, she goes, "Hey, this is all a sheaf, and he just lost a buttload of money," which explains why he set up a high-stakes poker game at the Casino Royale in Montenegro.
What a cool ass name.
If he loses the game, we can turn him and use him for information on all his clients. Bond, unfortunately, is the best player in the service. She wishes that wasn't the case, and she goes, I would ask that. Sorry. I hope that you can remain emotionally detached, but I don't think that's your problem, is it, Bond? As he's looking at this woman whose life he basically just threw away.
Great line.
And she's like, does she know anything on you? Does she have anything? Does she know your name? And he's like, no, but she does. Which is weird.
Did she know his name?
Well, she's dead.
She called him James.
Dead men tell no tales, man.
Oh,
Yeah, but
James.
before she
But
died,
yeah,
she
she was
when she
tortured.
It's like she
for
knew you were
information.
Timothy.
Old
That's
Jimmy.
useless information.
Old Jimmy.
It's true. Jimmy B.
I just think it was a weird line to include when she
Does she know anything about you? Yeah, that I come too fast.
But he didn't have sex with her. Can you imagine? Like, she was
I
like,
came without having sex.
I'm gonna have sex with this guy, and then he's gone. Later, someone comes and knocks on the door, and you're like, oh, you're back. Oh no, people to torture me.
Help!
What a terrible.
This guy's trying to kill me! Of course, no one would hear because you're in a fucking old folks' home
Yeah,
where
you're
everyone's
right.
deaf and probably asleep at 7 o'clock in the
Yeah.
afternoon. Okay, so we're on the train to Casino Royale, and this is where Bond is sitting in this cool compartment. And who does he meet? Who walks in? Vesper. That's right, Vesper Lind, the representative from the bank who is staking him in the game. And she has a great line where she says, I suppose you've given thought to the fact that if you lose, the British government will have directly funded terrorism. And Bond's like, I don't lose, unless you count that woman that I just got killed. Yeah. That's probably an L on my record.
Really
right
bad.
No, that's not a loss. That's a loss for her.
They have this fun.
No.
It's like even for him. It's not a win, not a lose.
Let's put it this way: when you marry a guy who like helps fund terrorism, someone's probably gonna come knock on your door and kill you in a hammer.
He gave a man a bomb.
She thought she was gonna get laid, man. She was like, "Oh, my
she was
husband's
ready
going
for
to
it.
Miami.
My husband hasn't touched me in a while,
Yeah.
and this guy is not afraid to wear a children's size small bathing suit. This guy fucks, okay? This guy fucks. And clearly uses manscaped.com because he's hairless from the eyebrows down.
Beautiful.
Of course, they start immediately sizing each other up, and they play this fun game where he tries to profile her, and he's wrong, basically. And then she tries to profile him, and she gets him dead to rights. Where she's like, you are.
Was he wrong?
Yeah, because she's like, I'm getting as orphan. And she's like, I'm not an orphan, but he's an orphan.
But it's funny that you mention that because you're an orphan.
He gets her kind of right,
you.
where he's like, you have to exist in this man's world, and you have to act tougher than you are, and all this stuff, and all these things. But she sizes him up, and I love how she profiles him. She's like, you look good in a suit, but you look uncomfortable, which means you don't want to be wearing it. Which tells me that you grew up in a lower class society, but you went to boarding school, and you never felt at home there. And she goes, because you mentioned orphan, I'm thinking. Like no one, unless you were an orphan, would think that. You wouldn't just normally assume that. So I'm thinking you're an orphan as well, and he doesn't confirm or deny it. But it turns out that maybe he is an orphan. We don't know. And then
this is all sexy and great.
Well, you told me no more future spoilers.
I know.
Wait, whoa, hey,
no more future spoilers. Maybe he is, maybe he's not.
Mookie.
Maybe he's got 5 parents. Maybe all his parents are him. He's a clone.
Shut the fuck up.
Solid.
You only found that out in the novel, though.
That's fair.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the novel before they didn't know cloning was a thing in the 50s, but whatever. Then we get probably the most unabashed product placement I've ever seen in my entire life, where she goes, you have a penchant for nice suits and nice watches, and she goes, Rolex, and he goes, Omega. And it's like, we didn't need that line. We didn't need the 5 shots of his watch in this, but I get it. Omega is sponsoring this. And of course, Rolex used to be not sponsor. Rolex used to be the watch of James Bond back in the day. And then I think when the producers came to them in Casino Royale and said, hey, we want you to, not Casino Royale, excuse me, in some of the later movies like GoldenEye, they of course wanted Rolex to pay for the product placement. And Rolex is like, we don't want to do that. So Omega came in and swooped in.
Do you wear a Rolex? No, I'm not a bitch. I'm like, damn.
Wow. Something I really don't appreciate, though, is like, there's a lot of like legacy and kind of lore around James Bond. I was supposed to say James Bond. Dude. And like these elements, like there's the car, and there's the gun thing, and there's the
Aston Martin, there's the wall of BBK.
There's the suit, like the tux, and like the watch is a big part of it. Like shaken, not stirred, all this. Like I feel like when you have something so tied to you, like alcohol, like the martini, that is his drink. That is the James Bond drink. How, and this is future spoilers for commercials, but how the hell is my boy going to be out here drinking Heineken? Like,
because they paid a lot of money.
They paid a lot of money, but it's just like, damn, is nothing sacred?
This is a new James Bond,
switching
bro.
the watch, it's like, cool, at least it's a nice watch to nice watch.
So
but this motherfucker drinking Heineken?
The watches are always interesting. I'm a watch guy, so I follow the watches. In the novels, because Ian Fleming wore a Rolex Explorer, which is a more simple, kind of just straightforward watch. He had Bond wearing those. When they did the movies, they wanted him to, the story goes, I don't know if this is true or not, but the story goes is they wanted him to have a nice watch, but Rolex would not give them one because Rolex is like, no, we're not going to give you, because back, they thought this was like pulp novels, and they were like, this movie's going to suck. It's not going to be great. So Albert Broccoli, who is the producer, Albert Cubby Broccoli, took his own Rolex off and gave it to Sean Connery to wear, and that's the watch you see. The Rolex Submariner No Date with the NATO strap is the watch you see in Dr. No, which was the very, very first Bond film. And then, of course, that lineage of James Bond wearing a Rolex Submariner stayed all the way up until, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Roger Moore, who was like, I want to go crazy and zany with this. I want to get away from Sean Connery. I want to drive a Lotus. I don't want to drive an Aston Martin anymore. And I want to wear Seiko watches. And I want lasers to come out of everywhere. And some of those, I still hold to the fact that some of the Roger Moore movies are the best Bond movies because of that fact. Because they were like, let's go fucking bananas with this. And let's have a laser fight in space. And I love that. And then, of course, when we got back to GoldenEye, that's when Omega picked up the sponsorship. And we've seen Seamasters ever since.
Seamasters.
The Omega Seamaster
okay.
was the
cool name, right?
Well,
Cool name, yeah.
The two brands came up together. Omega and Rolex have been rivals for a very, very long time. And watches, like cars and a lot of things, have very similar styles. So you have the Rolex Submariner and the Omega Seamaster.
That's really cool.
So those are two iconic watches.
I would have loved it if he
basically
was
sparring back and forth for the last 7
like Marvel
years.
and DC.
I would have loved it if he was on the plane, just like, do you want a lamb, sir? Like, no, I'll take Papa John's. Papa John's.
Papa John's comes in. He's like,
Had to sponsor Jesus.
Anyway, that's your watch talk for today. Let's get back to it. It's a great little sparring match, which ends with he's like, he's flirting with her basically and trying to size her up, and she goes, "As charming as you are, Mr. Bond, I will keep my eye on our government's money and off your perfectly formed ass." And Bond goes, "You noticed." It's fun. She bangs out, and of course he's like, "Oh, this person is a little bit different than what I'm used to. She's on the level, and she's smart, and she's going to give me a run for my money." And I like that, starting to bring him out of his shell a little bit.
Also, the line of "You're not my type."
Oh, that's
what?
later.
Smart? No, single.
I love
It
that.
really bums her out.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, that's fucked up." That's of course when they're driving to the hotel with her and trying to get their cover story, which Bond immediately just blows. Right when they get to the desk, he's like, "I'm James Bond, and this is Vesper Lind, and we're here under these two names." And she's
The
like,
coolest
"Why would
name
you?"
ever, though,
She's like,
Vesper
"Why would
Lind."
you do that?" And he's like, "Look, if Lashif is as good as I think he is, he already knows who we are, and all we've done is just drop the front." And it's kind of a bullshit reason. She goes, "It's ego. It's your fucking ego getting in the way again. You're trying to be better than me. You're trying to be better than everyone. This is going to be your downfall and undoing. Take the next fucking elevator, basically." Bond, let's see. Bond gets a package,
So rude,
heads
man.
outside.
Okay, I guess
of
I'll
course,
wait here for 5
the
minutes.
package is a key to a Aston Martin DBS V12, which is one of the coolest fucking cars I've ever seen in my entire life. And yes, if I had all the money in the world, I would have one in my cool garage
Next to your Honda Accord.
next to my 06 Honda Accord that I would drive every day, because I would never drive this Aston Martin in San Francisco. It would get destroyed.
Oh my, it would get so
That'd be
dinged.
such a waste, though.
We get introduced to, of course, he looks through all the gadgets in this, and what do we see? Of course, a silenced Walther PPK and a defibrillator and a poison kit.
There's
Which are
nothing.
like, wow, I hope if I saw that, I'd be like, what the fuck do you think is going to happen to me?
It was
do
like
I get poisoned all the time?
It was a fancy ass first aid
Anti-poison kit, yeah.
But
There's
it, like,
nothing
it was
cooler
included
looking
in there.
than a
Like, we didn't
silenced
know.
pistol,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
A silenced pistol is just like
I think it's a
one of the
Walther.
coolest things.
I think it's a Walther that he still has. I think it's the updated Walther PPK that he uses in this, but I could be wrong. I don't know what model gun it is.
You know what?
I don't know
Because
guns.
that's the
Just
Solid
watches.
Snake.
Yeah.
The
Anyway,
Solid Snake on.
Bond meets with Mathis, a local MI6 agent who is going to help him out. Later that day, Bond brings Vesper a dress so she can look fabulous and, more importantly, distract his competition. And then she, in turn, of course, matching him blow for blow. He walks back in his room and finds a perfectly tailored tuxedo.
Love it.
And he goes, "I already have a dinner jacket." And she goes, "There's dinner jackets, and then there's dinner jackets."
It's just like, why is this so good?
And he puts
It
it on,
should be.
and for the first time, this might not be the first time, but it's the
It's
first time I remember
tailored.
hearing it. He walks in and he looks at himself in the mirror, and you hear the James
You get the
Bond theme.
proper
You
thing.
get a little
Like, we had
theme.
hints of it earlier, but this
Yeah.
was just like the let's go. And
you
it's like,
see
okay,
him
I'm there.
Put on his basically like go to work suit, which is cool.
This is all awesome.
It's really
Like,
nice.
It's
and
really cool.
it's again, we're getting this sort of like, this is what Bond is, right? Like this is the suit, this is the theme, but the back and forth between them just makes it all so much better.
I
Like
agree.
their dialogue is great.
And shout out to Ava Green for holding her own in these scenes and really kind of being that nice antagonistic like counterpart to him. I feel like that this relationship to me makes this movie great.
yeah.
When they first announced that she was going to be like his partner, I remember thinking like, I don't know if she's got the chops for this.
She's no Denise Richards.
I thought Christmas only came once a year. Was
Great
legitimately how
Great line.
We'll do it up, man. Everyone, of course, goes downstairs. They head to
But
the
she
game.
proved me wrong. That's yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Fair. Everyone has deposited $10 million buy-ins, which will remain in escrow. This weird Swiss dude who is way too happy.
He's so happy.
and
I
doesn't
love it.
realize that all the people in this room are fucking killers and terrorists.
He's such a
He's like,
cartoon
"Oh,
character."
everything's great, yeah.
They're either killers or terrorists, or they're like CIA and you know.
This guy doesn't give a fuck. He's just like, hello, everyone. We had to have
I love
fun.
him. The movie needed
with
that.
game.
The
It's
movie
great.
needed that. I think like everybody else is so dark and like ominous, and I think
When he
the movie
answers the-
needed like this other weird
at the end when he
Guy was the
answers
fucking
the phone,
Swedish
it's
chef.
just like, what? They're withdrawing it right now. Of course, the
Yeah.
Venice branch. All right, I'll see you later.
They all have to enter passwords in the system so that if they win, the winnings can be kept for them until they transfer out. Of course, Bond has a little smirk, another mischief managed moment where he goes, huh, and he types
Moments
in
of
something.
mischief.
And you're like, I don't,
moment of
mischief manage.
moments of mischief.
Oh.
Moments of mischief.
Oh, you think bad? Okay. Anyway, then
New segment.
Then they start the Texas Hold'em match, during which a lot of people have to narrate this so the audience doesn't get completely lost. Even though Texas Hold'em was very popular in 2006, I don't know what the fucking boat, the river, the bend,
Dude,
whatever that shit is.
I fucking hated when all my friends would play goddamn Texas Hold'em, and I'd just be like, I just want to play video games.
Yeah,
the whole time, Bond, of course, is trying
it.
to figure out what Lashif's tell is, and that doesn't matter because the second Vesper walks in, all fucking things stop, and she looks phenomenal in this dress. Great color for her.
I
might add.
love that she walks out the wrong way on purpose to fuck with him. Because like he very specifically was like, "Oh, walk out so that everyone can see you," and she walks out so that.
Well, she also walked out like midway through the game, which pissed him off because she was supposed to do it like at the beginning, right?
Good, man.
But that's but of course Bond. Let's see, everyone orders a drink. He starts ordering this drink, and this is where the old server in me goes, "Oh man, hold on, I gotta get a pen." Because this thing is complex.
He
I start getting
invents a drink? Is
anxiety.
that what he does?
I guess. I don't know why he does. This was a play on the classic, I'm going to order a martini shaken, not stirred, but a vodka martini shaken, not stirred. I don't know why they decided to make this drink a thing, other than I can only imagine they were going to sell a line of alcohol that was the Vesper.
The Vesper.
Yeah, and there is now, if you go to the Cosmopolitan in Vegas, there's a Vesper bar that has this drink that you can go, and it's fucking terrible. It's like, anyway, we'll go on. Let's see. Bond kisses Vesper so Lashif can see, but Vesper rebuffs him because he's losing and she's pissed off.
I love the, I'm in character. Yeah, I am in character.
Love
I'm
it.
upset with you.
And he goes, it was worth it to discover his tell. He's got a little twitch in his eye, and I know it's his tell, and I'm going to beat him with it.
I feel like way too dramatic for that to. I mean, like every time that he's lying for him to go. You know, it's a little obvious. I feel like if you're playing at that level,
you might want to have someone watch you and just be like, hey, that's going to make you lose.
I fucking love Mads Mikkelsen and his character in this movie.
Yeah.
And just like everything that he does is fucking weird. He's creepy. His eye bleeding's weird. And him just like flipping the
coin.
I want to learn how to do that
Let's
so
go.
badly. I think that's the coolest thing people do at tables.
I won my BB.
Of course, they take a short break, and Bond bugs Lashif's inhaler and then pervs out on Vesper so they can follow Lashif back up to his room. Lashif goes up there, and of course, his girlfriend, I forget how she has a cool name too.
horrible haircut.
Horrible haircut.
Horrible.
Weird style too.
Is it a wig? I don't know. I don't care either.
The obviously he gets kidnapped here or whatever. But just to fast forward, the poisoning scene where she turns around, I like just laughed out loud. I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Like she turns around and like after the server,
a moment of mischief.
Yeah, the server takes the drink over to him and she kind of turns around. And is like,
She's very
what?
snaky.
She looks weird.
With just like the worst like designed haircut.
So weird, man.
It's very weird. She is a classic like Bond villainess.
Yeah.
And of course, Urbano is there with his henchmen, and they're like, "Dude, you lost all our fucking money." He's like, "Dumb, I'm gonna get it back for you tomorrow." And then they threaten to cut off her arm, and Lashif's like, "I don't give a fuck." And he's like, "Damn, that was cold as ice." They go out, and of course, Bond proving for the third time in this movie that he is fucking terrible at reconnaissance. Just as there, put the earpiece in the wrong fucking ear, and the guy sees it and goes, "Oh, well, you're clearly a secret agent. I have to kill you now." And then he kicks that dude over the railing and then proceeds to fight Urbano down the stairs in what I would assume is the most violent fucking fight ever recorded.
It's so violent and it's so funny to think about. I loved this entire scene, but it's funny to think about her in her heels running down the stairs pretty constantly without stopping, and they constantly are catching up because they're being thrown down every single flight.
So brutal and so cool.
And when he gets towards the final throw, they're at the bottom, but you just can't really tell. And so the final throw happens, and they just like
they tumble over.
they just like
Which is weird,
yeah,
right?
It's weird.
Like you thought they were gonna fall at least a floor or two.
Yeah.
So I want to throw a quick shout out to whoever choreographed this, because in 2006 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was starting to gain a lot of steam. The UFC was popular, but I don't think people had started really incorporating this stuff into fight choreography. So this is the first time I remember seeing someone take someone's back, actually put hooks in with their legs, and sink in a rear naked choke, which is actually pretty good classic, like fundamental jiu-jitsu. Normally you'd see people choke each other, but they wouldn't go the extra step of actually locking in and taking someone's back properly. We see that. I think it's really, really cool. Of course, he doesn't realize that Urbano is going to go for his gun, and that's when Vesper has to make a choice. She holds him down, and then it's just the most fucking brutal thing you've ever seen, where she's looking at this guy as Bond's choking the life out of him,
is leaving
and kills
his
him,
eyes.
and she's helping him do this, and it's a really, really powerful moment in this movie. And then Bond gets up and goes into autopilot, where he's like, "Go get Mathis, tell him I've hidden the bodies down here. Go now."
She's like, "I'm an accountant, dude. Like this is
Yeah, she's
crazy."
like, "Dude, I'm a banker.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is not what I do."
I like Mathis a lot, and I hope that he didn't actually betray them.
Well,
I just want to put that out there.
we'll see. We'll see.
I don't know. You haven't finished the movie.
You haven't seen the movie.
Exactly. That's why I'm confused. It's the last 5 minutes. Why'd you put me on blast in front of me? You know he gets all mad.
Of course, Bond goes upstairs, and he's put on a front. He's put on a front for Vesper down there, where he's like, go, go, go. When he gets upstairs, he's noticeably shaken by this so much that he has to take giant gulps of, I assume, bourbon, just to steady his nerves. And he cleans himself up when he goes downstairs. Of course, Le Chiffre, you can't pull anything over him. He notices that he's changed his shirt and says, "Is our game causing you to perspire?" And he goes, "Maybe a little bit, but I won't consider myself in trouble until I start weeping blood."
You bitch.
Go fuck yourself. Which is great. After the game, Bond returns to his hotel.
It's a health issue.
Yeah,
My doctor told me.
Like, what the fuck, man?
It's like it's a messed up eye.
Dude, the bad guy in this movie has an asthma inhaler.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking dope as hell.
Well, I like it because he's not a
It's so
typical
cool.
like I'm going to beat everyone to death. He's like, I'm a smart guy. I know the odds, and I'm a banker, basically.
I liked when they're all ordering drinks, or when Bond orders drinks, and everyone's like, "Yeah, I'll do one of
That
those
sounds good.
too." And he's like, "Are you guys fucking
Yeah,
done?
she's like,
I'm trying
"Are we
to win
done?"
all your money."
Yeah. Like, what the fuck, dude? We're playing. Let's see. The next after the game, Bond returns to his hotel to find Vesper fully clothed, sitting in the shower, and she can't wash the blood off of her hands. She's tried, and this is a very.
He licks it off her?
It was a little weird to have
Saliva
him lick it
breaks
off.
down.
her.
Hey, honestly,
It makes
very, very, very
Very
bizarre
weird.
choice. I didn't like it.
I really
I
would have
don't know
liked
anyone
it,
could like it.
if he just had washed her hands for her
Yeah.
and said, "Hey,
That
there,
wouldn't
it's done."
That wouldn't do it.
It's very weird, but I do like. I
Blood
think that's a
stains.
weird moment, but I think there's an endearing moment where he's like, "Are you cold?" And she said, "Yeah," and he just reaches up and he turns the warm.
Yeah,
and
the
then he
scene
holds her.
moments it were
I
great.
like that.
It's
Yeah.
just it was literally just the finger.
It was
I
the
think
finger
they were
because
like-
I was like, are they about to turn her sorrow into fucking right now? Like,
Yeah, like,
I didn't know where they were going with it. Like,
I don't know.
the
I'm glad they
finger,
didn't.
the finger sucking thing was really off for me. But then it gets sweet and nice, and he
Yeah, I
changes
think
the
he.
thing.
I think that
Maybe
scene
take
could have
another
had
cut
a
at it.
little
You-
shift.
There's
filmed it in one
there's
scene,
enzymes
but
in
maybe
your
do it another.
saliva that'll break down the blood.
Science, science, science with Kev.
I already said it.
There's enzymes.
Yeah, in your saliva. Otherwise, it could stain your skin.
Well, fuck it. Who gives a
Remember,
shit? Use water.
what's the one
He's just
play
trying to
Macbeth?
suck on those fingers.
The girl was like, this fucking damn spot. That was mostly in her head, though.
The next morning, Bond meets with Mathis while
Guilt.
Vesper sleeps. Mathis has hid the bodies in one of Le Chiffre's cars. Shout out to the old school. In this one he wears a different Omega. I had it written down. In the first one he wore a Planet Ocean. In this one he wears an old school Omega Seamaster. I like the look of it on his wrist. Back to the game. Bond goes all in when he sees Le Chiffre's
Wait,
tell.
they open the trunk, and there's another
Yeah.
moment of
Moment of
mischief.
mischief.
And that poor
The
guy. That
music
poor
in this
guy's like,
one?
dude, I'm just a chauffeur, and now I'm going to jail for life for the murder of 2 people. What are you gonna do? Back to the game.
But
Bond
I
goes,
thought he was just a chauffeur. He wasn't
No, he was
somebody.
a bad guy. They're all bad guys. He's a
Okay.
henchman. I'm just joking
Yeah,
around.
okay.
Like, you
But
don't know.
also-
Maybe he was just a hired guy that they're like, oh, we got to get some local talent. The guy's like, oh, this is my bigger break. I got to take care of my dad who's ailing. We're in Montenegro. I don't know what they speak. I don't know. It's close to Italy, I think. I don't know. I think it's
the
across the
cops are
bed.
crooked. You know, it's fine.
So, I mean, we already saw one cop get taken out by some Photoshop. Let's see. Bond wants Vesper to restake him. Okay.
God, did we talk about that?
What?
It was a
What
useless
Photoshop?
scene. I
What?
just moved it. I
The,
moved past it.
where
They take out the chief of police.
yeah, the chief of police was like bot, and they're like, but we just photoshopped him, and now he's arrested. That was like really stupid. I
Yeah.
hated
Yeah.
that. Really dumb scene.
It was supposed to, I guess, be indicative of how smart Mathis is, but it
Yeah.
was kind of dumb.
Math is being cool. You know what I mean? Hope he didn't
Math
betray
shit.
everyone.
So, but guess what? The tell was a
What's
lie,
his
and
name?
Bond
Pineapple
gets
Express.
busted because he thought he knew the tell, and someone must have tipped him off. I don't know what's happening, but I lost $10 million. And they go out on the balcony, and Bond wants Vesper to restake him with the additional $5 million that's been authorized, and she goes, no. She's like, you're impatient and arrogant. Your arrogance beat you. You lost because your ego, because of your ego, and that same ego can't take it. And I love that because it's true. Because he's like, I just want to buy back in. And she's like, you haven't learned anything from this. You just want to beat this guy, but you got beat, and it's your ego talking, and that's really cool.
Fucking Felix comes in.
Seeing no other option, of course, Bond grabs a butter knife and heads toward Le Chiffre. But before he can bluntly stab the man
I'm
to
just
death, I
gonna
don't know.
stab him to
Yeah.
death in the middle of this thing.
Gotta
Felix
win.
Leiter, of course, grabs his arm, and it turns out
whoa.
the entire time he's been CIA. He's like, I forget the term he uses.
I'm your
He's like,
brother from Langley.
brother from Langley. That's
Something like
cool.
that.
Something
Cool
like that.
shit. I
Yeah.
loved all this. Who is this actor?
That's Jeffrey Wright.
From
Yeah.
Westworld.
Or Jeffrey Wright? Yeah, Jeffrey
Yeah,
Wright.
yeah, yeah.
Who is
He's cool.
what do
He's
I know
also
him
going to
from?
be Westworld. He's also in Hunger Games, and then he's going to play Gordon in the Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
He is awesome. I did not expect him to be in this movie, and when he popped up, I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's go!" I just
What's
really
his
love
name
him.
again?
Felix Leiter. And the Felix Leiter character has been a character in a lot of Bond movies throughout the years. He's been the CIA sort of like counterpart to Bond, where he kind of helps him out, and they buddy up a little bit here and there. It's been different actors every time, of course. He's CIA, and he is not doing well in this game. He's like, I'm hemorrhaging chips. I will restake you under one condition. When you win, we get to take Le Chiffre in. And Bond goes, cool. That's probably better than trying to stab him with a very, 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 very unsharp butter knife.
Oh, he would have gotten him killed.
I mean, he would have killed him, but it would have been just horrible. Of course, Bond returns back to the game with this new buy-in and then gets immediately poisoned. Thankfully, there's this nice handy anti-poison kit with a defibrillator in his car. He takes off, and I like that part where he's like, "Sir, you're the whatever the fuck term it is." So he just throws some chips on the table.
The big
takes off, grabs a big blind, little blind,
that's a big
mini blind. Takes some salt and a cup and tries to throw up, which is horrible, and then goes out to the car, calls it in, and there's a whole room full of people that are there to help him out, and they're like, Bond, we got to figure out what it is. Do the blood test, and they figure out that it's a certain poison, and they're going back and
take
forth.
the blue thing.
Take the blue thing.
Hit the defibrillator yet. You have to wait.
Right.
And it's like,
it takes the blue thing, of course, and they're
stress.
like, okay, now hit the defibrillator, and he starts hitting it, and it's sad because he can't figure out what's going on, and he looks down, and of course, one of the lead wires has become disconnected, and he's like, well, that's it for me. And before he dies, of course, he sees a beautiful face kind of come into the frame out of focus, and it's Vesper, and she figures it out, and she plugs it back in.
He does die.
Oh, he does die.
He's
She defibrillates him,
flatlined.
and he pops back up. And he's like, and boy, we see his abs in this, and they're great.
And
I
she's
love
like,
that he says, "Are you okay?"
He goes, are you okay? She's like, what the fuck?
there's no way you can go back in there. And he's like, of course
They're
not.
like, Bond, you have to go immediately to the hospital. You can't go back in. He's like, of course not. And of course he's going to go back in.
Just goes right in.
Buttons his shirt back up and sits down. And when Le Chiffre sees him, it looks like he's seen a ghost. And
Yeah,
Bond says,
it's great.
I'm sorry, that last hand nearly killed me.
Yeah, it's really good.
Come on,
mischief.
Come on, son. And then, of course, we have one final hand, and everyone goes all in.
Wait,
including-
it can't be a moment of mischief if it's just a one-liner.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's
There's
not a
body
moment.
has
No,
a little
the moment of mischief is when they cut to him and he goes,
Yeah.
I like this line. Everyone goes all in on the final hand. Everyone's got superior hands to each other as we go around the table. Someone bet $5 million, someone bet $6 million, and then Le Chiffre goes all in with $14 million or whatever, and Bond matches
40
him.
million.
40 million, whatever the fuck. It's all the money and all the kit and caboodle. And of course, Bond has a royal flush and beats him. And
Sheer luck.
And Felix goes, cool. And he's like, he's all yours, man. Take him in. And we got to go celebrate. And we're going to go to dinner. And it's going to be great. And we go to dinner. And he starts to asking her, Vesper, you got a boyfriend, cute boyfriend? And she's like, yeah, I have a cute boyfriend. He gave me this Algerian love
The world's
knot.
most hideous
It
fucking
is
necklace
not
that was
pretty.
obviously a plot point because it was so ugly the
It
entire
does not
time.
go with anything.
I like the way he was like, you know, that's an Algerian love. And she's like, oh,
I just thought it was nice.
It's an
He was like,
Algerian
you
love
know.
knot.
somebody like you're keeping secrets from me and I don't like it.
And of course, she's like, yeah, someone gave it to me. And he's like, well, that's a pretty serious thing to give to someone. It's essentially saying like you're married or whatever. He must be a lucky man.
Now I
whoever
definitely
it
want to
is.
bang you.
And yeah, since you're not single anymore, boo, elevator to the top floor. You know what I'm talking about? We're going to
do,
the
man.
penthouse where
I
there's only
do.
one room. A little room for making love. And she asks him, I love this scene too because she has another great line here where she goes, it doesn't bother you killing those people. And he says, I wouldn't be very good at my job if it did. She's like, I don't know about that, man. That just seems like some cool shit to say to someone. Anyway, Mathis texts. He needs Vesper. She leaves Bond. And then Bond has a really weird moment here where he goes, Mathis. And you're like,
Yeah, makes zero sense.
No,
Why would you
because
assume-
at that moment he's like, oh shit, Mathis told the dude about the tell
that's what he assumed.
because he's the only person that knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't see it. I think it's a
It's a
convenient
bit of a
thing.
leap.
It's a convenient thing to move on to the next plot point.
I never
but-
liked that. I
Yeah.
wish that he would have just seen her get abducted and have to go after him. Of course, he runs out after her. She gets abducted. He jumps in the Aston Martin DB and races after her. And I fucking love this because you think it's
Fucking
going to be an unbelievably fast, cool car chase, and it's over like that as he
But
rounds a corner.
it gets your
God.
heart racing. Though.
No
Like,
way
the-
he
the-
doesn't-
The shots when you see her and you're just like, oh fuck, like
That's cool and clever.
yeah.
No way he didn't kill her though. You know what I mean? In like reality,
bro.
Either way,
Here he
yanked,
flips the
yanked
damn
that car
thing.
off, flipped
I'll
about
tell you what,
100
dude.
billion times.
None of this would ever happen because Ethan Hunt would have just ran after. Wouldn't even gotten in the car. Just would have been running at 90 miles an hour.
First off, Ethan Hunt would have gotten in a BMW because they sponsored it, and it would have been fine. It would have been a cool old BMW, whatever, and he would have driven it cool. But nothing's cooler than Aston Martin. Okay.
Bond films have a reputation for breaking Guinness World Records. In Casino Royale, Bond is in a dramatic car crash, which sees his Aston Martin flip 7 times. The scene took a lot of practice and a lot of Aston Martins to get right. The 7 flips set the record for highest ever number of barrel rolls by a car.
Yeah.
The previous record was held by a stuntman on British TV program Top Gear.
Hey.
Oh, it's a good show.
Does fucking Ethan Hunt hold any Guinness Book of World Records?
He wouldn't have rolled over the car 7 times. Weird fight.
Guys, this seems like a record we could break, you know?
I think so, Kevin.
Yeah?
Yeah, you have 3 cars. We could try them out.
Sure.
lot of
Lashif
tries.
and his goons catch up and they pull him out of the car and they cut the little tracking device out of his arm. How do they know that was there either?
gross.
That was brutal.
No,
They throw him in the-
he says Mathis told
Well,
him.
he does.
Yeah.
At this point, we're like, oh, they knew that too. That's
yeah.
crazy. When they get Bond, they throw a Bond in the back of the old in the car, and he passes out and then they drag him into this old rusted out ship hole. And they I was like, when I first watched
take
it, I
a
was
chair.
like,
They
what are
cut
gonna
the
do?
chair, and you're like, "What the fuck are they gonna do? It's gonna really hurt when you sit in it." And then he sits in it, and you're just like, "Oh, he actually has a pretty good seat on it." Like, I'm not too worried. Oh my god, no! Don't do it! Don't keep doing it! Why do they keep doing it?
The moment they show this leather braided whip
rope.
with some sort of rock at the end of it.
No, it's like
yeah,
a,
it's just a leather ball.
big ass
Knot.
what I thought was it
Weighted.
was like a big rope that had a big thick knot on
Yeah.
the
Oh, I thought it was leather. I thought it was like a whip.
Oh, I just
No,
thought
it
it was
was
like
rope.
it was
The whole-
some
it was
sort
just
of rope that
rope
he had
tied at
taken
the
from
end.
the ship hole or
hurt.
something like that.
There was a funny
Yeah, it looked
line
like it
where
hurt.
Mads Mikkelsen is talking to him, and he goes, "It looks like you've taken great care of your body."
Right.
But
It's a shame.
but because of his accent, I heard him say "buddy," and I thought he was talking about his dick.
His pee-pee.
Like you've taken care of your buddy, right? It's a
good looking dick
I'm about
you
to
got
fuck
there.
up your buddy right here.
All I'll say is this:
His-
this is a fucking brutal way to torture someone that is fit. But if you're dumpy like my ass, you just suck them up a little bit, and your butthole takes most of the
Yeah, your
impact. It doesn't
thigh
matter.
fat,
Oh,
yeah.
this guy! I'd be like this. I do this all fun. I go all day. You know what I'm talking
My
about?
thigh fat
That's
can just,
America.
like,
Why
This is
are you
America's fat ass. That's what I would do.
He turned into Mark Wahlberg. For the,
I
I'll go all day.
Because you have to assume like he's sitting on this thing, but you could just kind of squeeze your butthole and make your balls go up, right?
Yeah, but like, I
Yeah,
don't
but
know.
still, it's
I'm
gonna
pretty sure
hurt.
we didn't see it, but Lashif tucked that shit down there before it happened.
He
What's
pushed
up,
it.
Eric?
But my question is like, why the chair setup? Like,
'Cause
why
you
why
can't
didn't
stop? It's sexy.
like why didn't he like
Flail
I don't know.
him out?
Yeah,
It's
I
not
don't
Game
know.
of Thrones.
It's
He's not
like
a sick motherfucker.
Yeah, man.
I don't
It's
know.
not perversion.
the chair just felt weird.
I love it.
I was
Nah, I
super,
thought it was
super
cool.
impressed by his little speech too. I thought it was fucking terrifying. It's one of those things where he's like, I don't know why people always work so hard. It's so simple. You know what people care about most.
Yeah,
And,
he-
like,
he goes,
balls.
he goes,
Yeah.
you have the pain, but he also has you have the knowledge that if
I don't stop.
if I don't stop, it'll be irreparable.
Yeah.
It'll cause irreparable damage. To
This
your
whole
most valued
scene
part.
is
Mads
fucking
is so-
terrifying. Mads is great.
Daniel
but Daniel
Craig is so
man,
good.
So
Like,
good, yeah.
it's like, oh, you're who's scarier here?
He's actually
I
a
don't
really good
know.
actor.
Yeah, the weird laughing
Yeah.
where he's like
God.
to the right. Yeah. Like what is he going? Like what is this weird character he's channeling?
I love it. Because that is a moment where he was like, I'm still in control. Fuck you. You know?
Yeah,
And
I
it's
guess
him
so.
like kind of dealing with the pain as well, you know.
It's really bizarre.
I
But
love
then,
it.
but then when he falls down, when he gets knocked over and Mads pushes him over because he's like, all right, I'm going to chop this shit off now. I'm going to feed it to you or whatever.
Right.
We see a different Daniel Craig. Like he's no longer this maniacal crazy guy. He's on the ground. He's like all defeated and shit. Like,
Well, he's also
like
got
all
into
of his
a car
adrenaline
accident,
just
yeah.
like went. You know.
Yeah, that's what happens when someone's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to stop hitting you right now, and I'll give you a moment to, like, breathe before I cut your testicles off.
Sure, yeah.
And feed them to
It
you.
was just weird
I
because
wouldn't
it
wanna
was
eat my
like
own
from
dick.
one moment to the next, he was this maniacal guy that seemed to have the upper hand where he's like, you can do whatever the fuck you want to me, man. I'm Daniel Craig. You're
Well,
not going to get
also-
this info from me.
Also, what changed is that they hear Vesper screaming in the room next to him, and he realizes, like, shit, they're torturing her too. And, like, it takes the wind out of his sails a little bit, but then he comes right back into the character and he goes,
He was rock hard, but then he
he's
heard
like,
that he's like, oh
yeah.
no.
Yeah.
He was
Not
like,
the
you're
time.
never going to tell me, are you? He was like, no, I'm never going to
He's
tell
like,
you.
bro, she has a husband. I'm going to fuck her. Like,
I'm so close, man.
and
just
Mads is
learned
like,
it, bro.
for real, bro? Ah, shit.
Bro, that
Get
makes
in
her
there, dog.
hot.
Get in there.
Anyway, so right before he gets the opportunity to cut off Bond's prized possession, Mr. White comes in and he's killed the people in the other room, and he comes in with a silenced weapon, and you can tell Lashif is scared here because he's like, shit. And he's like, I got the money. I'll get the money back. I'm right away from going. And the guy goes, he has a great line. He's like, money isn't as important to us as knowing who to trust. And he ices him, and then Lashif falls right into the camera, and you see
And
his,
it's like,
you see
holy
his
shit,
eye.
credits.
I was like, shit, that's cool, right? Nope, not credits.
Credits.
Bond passes out, and of course he wakes up with Mathis and Vesper right next to him. He's kind of coming in out of consciousness. He's like, Mathis did it. His Mathis, don't trust him. Okay, great.
Not him.
And then we cut out, and then they're outside, and he gets Mathis tased. Mathis gets pulled away. He's like, that motherfucker betrayed me. And Vesper's like, oh, that's great. And then the Swedish chef comes in. He's like, oh, you want the money? That's great, yeah. And then comes in and he goes, she's got the account information, and he asks Bond for the password, and he goes, she knows it, and she goes, do I? And he goes, type this in, and he goes, Vesper, it's her name, and that's on her undoing.
Yeah, she's wet as hell. Yeah,
that is everyone's wet now. The fucking Swedish chef is wet. Yeah. The nurses that are tasing Mathis's balls are wet. Everyone's wet.
Time. The suitcase is drenched.
She has that great moment. It's a very, very vulnerable moment where she breaks down. You don't know what's behind it, but you do get the point that she feels really bad about what she's, knowing what you know at the end of the movie. Like, she feels terrible that she's had to betray Bond.
But also she just betrays her like boyfriend or whatever.
She's stuck in a very hard spot.
Long ass relationship with him. Right? It felt like it was a week at least, right?
It's a solid month
of them banging it out. Meanwhile, her boyfriend's getting tortured. Maybe.
Who knows? We don't know. At this point, though, all we know is that she has a very. She's like, she has this great line where she's like, "If only all that was left of you was your smile and your little pinky, you'd still be more of a man than anyone I've ever met." And he makes a joke. He's like, "That's because you don't know what I can do with my pinky."
It's all weird. I hate all this.
What?
I thought it was cute, but more importantly, it's a great. She has another great moment where she realizes she's like, you're not going to let me back in, are you? Like, you've just put your armor back up. And that charm that he has, those quips that he uses, are armor that he uses to defend himself against letting people in. And she goes, you're not going to let me back in, are you? You've put your armor back on. He goes, I have no more armor left. You've stripped it from me. Whatever is left of me, whatever I am, I'm yours. And then we get this moment where he has that transition where he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. You're right. We're back on the beach. And he's like, you're right. I want to leave with what's left of my soul. I want to travel the world with you until one of us has to get a real job. And unfortunately, it's going to have to be you because my skills aren't exactly marketable in the real world. I thought that's a really great moment. And then they bang a lot.
I just think it could have been any other line aside from like the whole pinky thing.
I liked it.
I think a little pinky.
Like, it's just a weird
if you're
thing.
not using your pinky during lovemaking,
because Vesper, that I'm going to stick this pink in your vagina.
I thought it was. I thought it was just pink.
Definitely.
I thought it was going to go pink in the stink.
Yeah,
it was just so like I don't know. It was just way too on the nose for me. Like I wish it was like a little bit more vague.
Was it on the nose? Oh, was it on the brown hole?
The brown nose is what.
That's not
brown. No, that's when you.
Brown eye.
All right. Okay. Let's see. They sailed to Venice.
Is this the second scene? Nick? No?
I'm sorry. Yes, this is the second scene where they go and he wears an even smaller bathing suit.
How did he get into this one? I don't understand.
He was born with this.
This is when it's revealed
he has less in there now.
That Bond, Mathis must have been the plant. He must have told the chief about the tell and the implant in Bond's arm. And then he professes his love for Vesper and he wants to travel the world with her until one has to find and make an honest woman out of her. And she's going to make an honest woman out of him. And she's like, fuck, this is heavy, man. I didn't expect this because he is sexy. And he's got two pinkies, not just one. And then they sail to Venice, I assume. Great. And she's wearing a cute little French, or Venetian, rather, I should say, like Italian kind of stripy shirt. I thought that was really cute fashion-wise. Yes, I like that. I like that style.
Good to know.
Let's see. They hole up in this cute hotel, and he's like, we're out of money. She's like, well, I'll go transfer the money. I got to go to my boss is texting me. I
go to Walgreens anyways.
And you go get some supplies, and that's cool. And then Bond gets a call from M, and she's like, yo, where's the money? And he goes, what are you talking about? I transferred it last week. She goes, I'm with a guy from the bank, and he hasn't had out the money. So Bond's like, hold on. Let me call the Swedish chef. And he calls the Swedish chef, and the guy goes, hold border fresh party. Where's the money?
His response is so cool that she's like, where's the money? He's like, I thought like you guys wouldn't notice. So he immediately like,
he knows something's up.
Yeah, something's up. And it's just like, oh man, this guy never puts it down. You know what I mean?
It calls the Swedish chef, and the Swedish chef is like, oh, the money's actually being withdrawn from the Venice branch right now as we speak. And Bond's like, fuck. And so he runs after her, and he catches up with Vesper as she enters this weird, secluded, spooky area. And then he finally gets the upper hand on a henchman, only to then immediately be noticed by the guy with one eye, who I was like, who is this guy, and why does he have an eye patch?
It's Mr. White, man.
It's not Mr. White.
What?
No. That's what I thought originally when I watched this. I was like, oh, Mr. White has one eye. That's weird. But Mr. White is there. He's not the guy. Because the guy gets a fucking nail to his eye and dies.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And then Mr. White pops back up at the end of the movie. this guy is just a random Bond henchman, and they were like, we got to make this guy interesting. Give him one eye. Just give him an eye patch, but don't do an eye patch. Just do black out one of his glasses. And I was like, this is very distracting.
Yeah, that's a very weird choice.
They fight. Vesper gets locked in the elevator. Bond decides to, as a distraction, he's going to shoot out the air supports to the building. And if you don't know anything about Venice, of course, the entire city is sinking into the water because it was constructed back in a time where they thought that they could burn the bad spirits out of your body. It's all sinking. Don't buy anything in Venice. It's terrible. Bond, of course, shoots the air supports. The whole thing starts wobbling like a fucking outdoor table, and Bond rushes in and kills a motherfucker.
And it looks horrible. Like, this scene sucks for all the reasons we said earlier, but it's just like all the rest of the CG and like effects in this movie are like, they're great. They don't distract me at all. We just went this entire thing without saying the letter CG. That's crazy. This scene, though, it's like, all right.
Oh, there was actually some pretty bad green screen when they're on the train and in a car, and there's a moment where a woman like opens the doors in that first casino scene. It's like, ooh, that looks really bad out there.
It was weird.
Weird skyline.
Again, that's what happens when you go down to the local old folks' home and you just film in the back where they're like, well, we got a fucking basketball court and a bingo net. What the hell do we do now? It doesn't matter.
So my son has a green poster board that we can use.
Just color the wall green on him. The building tips over, of course, as Bond kills the last person. And Bond goes to free Vesper, and she says, I'm sorry, James. And she locks herself in as the whole building tips over and the elevator slides into the water. And, of course, Bond's like, fuck that. I ain't going out like that. He kills everyone and then jumps into the water to try and save her. And as he's fiddling with the lock, this is a horribly gut-wrenching moment where she goes up to him and she holds his hands. And she, like, steadies his hands and she puts him to her cheek. Like, just let me go. And then
while he's underwater, yelling at her.
Yeah, yelling.
Like, open mouth yelling, like,
the key, let me see.
Give me! Just like, yo, bro, you're losing your
There was a weird moment in there where it's very calm and she just goes like, ah, and like flies back, and I thought like something
takes like a final death throw.
But I thought something like pulled her or something, but it was just like a weird.
No, I think she was just realizing that she's going to drown to death, and this is the first time I remember seeing on film someone actually drown.
Totally. They don't get away.
Whoa!
You just see it happen.
Like she takes the gulps and then it's just gone, and I'm like, that was horrific. And of course he gets that man strength and pries open the thing, pulls her up to the roof of the building, which is now at sea level, and tries to save her, but he can't, and then he gives up. And
now I gotta be honest.
I feel like you could have saved her. Yeah, I feel like
no, it's not even that. The only moment that like out-skis me
when he's kissing her dead body,
literally making out with her. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, dude?
Yeah, it was weird.
Like,
I feel like this is a relic of like trying to make. I don't know. It was weird.
It was weird.
I didn't know.
When he's like defibrillating her, like straight up grabbing her boobs, and then he like goes and he's like breathing into her like to try to get her back, and then he just starts making out with her.
Oh, I didn't see.
Like it's this way. There's no debate. Like he's
thought he was trying
her.
to.
It's very weird.
I thought he was like giving up on trying to give her breath. Like I thought it was
He was.
I'm giving you breath, and then I'm just kind of staying here because I've realized it's hopeless now. Like you're not coming back.
Either way, it could have been done a little bit more tastefully. But I do love that he then, of course, realizes she's dead, and he scoops her up in his arms and holds her to him as Mr. White has the case of money and is looking down on them, and he's like, cool.
That was Mr. White's moment of mischief.
It was. He was like,
cuts him, and he's like, and
then we cut over to a scene where Bond is a little healed up, and he's sitting in a boat, and he's talking to M, and she's like, we'll talk about your letter of resignation later. Actually, that was earlier.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's like, we did some research on Vesper, and it turns out she had a boyfriend who Lashif kidnapped and was torturing, and basically was using as leverage over her to betray her country and to betray you. But you know, she, of course, sacrificed herself for you, Bond. And Bond's like, well, I'm still fucking pissed at her. It doesn't matter. The bitch is dead is what he says, which I always thought was kind of a fucked
really
up thing
rough
for him. So I was like, that's kind of mean, dude. Like, you know you love her. But he's hurt.
But I mean, yeah, he's hurt. That's what
That's what it is.
He's closed off his feelings.
And then, of course, you know, she's like, did it ever occur to you that she made a deal to save your life, like leave you in the hotel? She knew that if she was going to meet with these people, they were probably going to kill her. So she was going to sacrifice her life for yours. And Bond was like, I don't care. I'm still hurt, and I'm a man, so I'm not going to talk about my emotions at all with you. And I'm just going to bottle them up until the next person I can kill, who is about, 15 seconds from now. And of course, the last thing, her last dying act was to text Bond the number and the name Mr. White. And then, of course, we cut over to a unbelievably beautiful villa that I have to imagine was on the Amalfi Coast somewhere, or maybe I forget where it is, but
somewhere in Malta.
Lake Como. It's
somewhere
probably
in
Lake
Malta,
Como,
right? Where the Aces.
Well, I think this is, I don't know. Oh, the ace?
Yeah.
Did you see him in the background?
No, I didn't.
He was playing tennis.
Oh,
That's
cool.
cool as
I
ice.
didn't see him. Weird
Quick-
Easter
quick
egg.
question: were they at the same place that?
It looked very similar to
Right?
Naboo in episode 2.
Okay, I
That
thought so.
might have
I
been.
think it
That
might have
might have been
been
the house. And of
This
course,
is earlier. I didn't see this part.
Mr. White walks out, and he's just like, oh, and he's kind of stretched. He's like, oh man, I got away
Was
with
that
it.
the episode 1 end music?
They added afterwards, right?
No.
Stupid.
Oh, no,
Wasn't
you're
it?
thinking of the, no, yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is where they give everyone the glowing balls, and everyone's like, how am I supposed to sleep with this thing in my room? What do I do with this? Just give it to a kid to go play with. Like, what the fuck do I do with this shit? Can I eat it? Of course, Mr. White gets out of his cool car, and he gets a little stretch, and then his phone rings. And he answers it, and he goes, hello? And he's like, is this Mr. White? And he goes, yes. Who's calling? Ow! As Bond shoots him right up the ass. That was a leg shot. He shoots him in the leg, and Mr. White starts crawling, and he starts crawling toward the entrance of his home for safety, and who should walk up in a beautiful three-piece suit, but now fully formed 007 James Bond. And he goes, and he looks down, and he goes, the name is Bond. James Bond.
Music hits.
And the music hits for the first time.
The music hits, but like, I didn't need that line. I like.
You have to have it.
What are you talking about?
The name's Bond, James Bond. The guy's like, I know who you are. Like,
I would have liked it if
just makes no sense.
The name is Bond, and then they didn't even include the James Bond. Like I would have
Yeah.
liked
You
it.
That's a 2012 movie. You know what I mean?
That's an Iron Man.
That's after we've learned a little bit.
Yeah, that's true.
No,
You're right,
You gotta
though.
have
You're
Bond.
right.
But it
That
also
would've
just
been
doesn't like. It would have made sense if he was like, "Who are you?" You know, if the guy asked.
Yeah.
There was some lead-in line to it that kind of made sense, but
there?
whatever.
Yeah, when he was on the phone before he was.
Oh yeah, he was like,
before
"Who
he
is
got
this?"
shot, yeah,
that's why.
Yeah.
Oh,
he was
okay.
like, "Who is
Too
this?"
much of a lead up.
And he shot him, and he
Too
walked
much
in. He
of
was
a
like,
lead up.
"Bond, James Bond," which is great. Also,
Was that
shout
you
out
on the phone?
He's like, "That was me on the phone. I was on the phone. I'm still on the phone." See, it's still there. Shout out to the three-piece suit that he's wearing, and the fact that he's dialed in, but he has that fucking badass submachine gun with the silencer on it.
It's intense.
It just looks cool as
Great
shit.
gun.
Like I am not fucking around, and I cannot wait for you guys to watch Quantum of Solace because they made a great decision at the beginning of that movie. That is great. That is all. Too many greats.
All right.
7 syllables in
oh,
the
yeah.
middle. You need 5 for the first and last line. If you're not poetic, no need to fret it. Haikus don't need to rhyme.
Ooh,
Haiku in review.
are we gonna do
Haiku in review.
Ragu Bagu also or no?
It's up to you, Nick. You're the Bond master here because
You
I
are.
feel like the theme song thing is
I think the theme song is better.
It's
than
better
Ragu
than
Bagu.
the bad guys.
We'll do that.
Let's see. Grayling. Oh, Jesus.
Grayling Thibodeau.
Grayling.
Not that
Thibodeau.
hard.
I don't know. That's
It sounds cool.
You had such a problem with that. Andy fucking nailed it in half a second.
Thibodeaux.
Yeah, I know
Thibodeau,
that-
man.
Thibodeau.
Bobby
Thibodeau, yeah.
Thibodeau. Bobby Boucher Thibodeau.
Most rom-com Bond. Why do we revere Big D? Where's the damn action? There's a ton of action in
There's
this.
some good action in here.
Let's
wouldn't
see.
call this-
Ooh, Engine 25. The greatest Bond girl. She fucked him. Then she fucked him. He'll
I will
always
say-
love her.
I will say Ava Green actually probably might be one of the best, if not the best written Bond girl as far as that's concerned. I think her character is the most three-dimensional and
She's great.
real of any Bond girl ever written.
Who's the Bond girl in this latest movie that's coming out?
I think Anna de
Anna
Armas
de
is in
Armas.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, God bless.
Grant Burton says he can run through walls. He has a pain in his balls. His name is James Bond.
Nailed it.
Blackjack says thrill of Bond's first kill. Martinis now lose the swill. Vesper's heart ice chilled.
Nice.
Sick, dude.
Very nice.
Damn. And finally, Jacob Jagonskazinski says another. Wait, no. 007 regretting his profession. Balls rest in heaven.
Damn.
That's sad. Pour one out for Jimmy B's ball sack.
Old Jimmy B. I think we're doing a disservice to not do Ragu.
Then fuck it.
Do it, bro.
I mean, Mads is number one. Ragu.
Bagu. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ragu Bagu.
Well, I
I'm
think
your
number
host,
one,
Nick
Mads.
Scarpino. With me today, of course, is my co-host, Tim Gettys. Tim, where do you
Not me.
feel that Le Chiffre
He's number one.
should be number one on the list?
He's number one.
Great
And
actor.
you know what? I'm just keeping it at him.
There you go.
Because he's what I want to remember as the bad guy of this movie.
Great.
Not the double cross, triple cross. No,
No,
not a dude.
none of that shit.
So, do we ever figure out if Mathis is bad?
It's Mathis.
Yeah.
You keep wanting to say Tim Matheson.
No.
It's just Mathis.
No, it's Mathis.
Mathis.
He says a
Mathis?
cider bike.
Why are you adding more syllables when you say
This is
it?
what I
He's
do. I
Kevin,
don't know.
man.
You keep pluralizing it.
was
Mathises. Does he have his wife and his kid in this? The Mathises.
Anyways,
Actually, shout out to his wife in the next one.
They don't
was
reveal.
Mathis's bad? or-
Spoilers!
What?
You said shout out to his wife in the next film.
Maybe she's in it. He's dead. You don't know.
It's the worst.
Maybe they have a cool drink on a bar on a plane. I was like, why can't I drink on a bar on a plane?
If he didn't do it, it'd be really sad to see him like, hey, James, you know they tortured me for a week, right? A week.
Wait, have you seen the next film?
I can't remember it because it's crap.
It's time to rank the James Bond Daniel Craig cinematic universe. Number 1, Casino Royale.
Great.
Do we all agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Are any of them better than this one?
I think Skyfall will give it a run for its money.
It has
people
moments,
liked
yeah.
Skyfall more than this when it came to theaters. I personally don't, but I will give it another shot. I watched 10 minutes of it the other day. My wife had it on, and I was like, oh, fuck, this movie is really entertaining, so I might eat my words, but I was very, very against it. I also am a very big fan of Quantum of Solace, but I am very much in the minority on that one.
Okay.
We'll have to find out next week. When we do, James Bond, Quantum of Solace. Pretty cool name.
It's a dope name.
Dope
It's a
theme
great
song.
name.
I can't wait to fucking hear that song again.
Based on a short, the title is based on a short story that he wrote about Bond. That has nothing to do with the movie at all.
Who?
They just took the story. Ian Fleming.
Oh.
He wrote a series of short stories too, one of which was called A Quantum of Solace. But in regards to that, I'll tell you what it means next week.
Really quick, I tweeted out kind of vague thoughts about the movie. I think the first hour is very slow and boring. And then it was until we got to the poker stuff where I was like, okay, I'm into this.
It's interesting that you liked that more than the other stuff.
Yeah, I think
like,
I just like cool. I like movies with card playing and like I like all the kind of like how do we play the person kind of stuff. So when it got to there, I did really like it, and then it did kind of like it flipped me like upside down when it revealed like she was double crossing him at the end. I was like, oh shit, wasn't expecting that. I enjoyed the latter half of this movie a lot. There's just some weird stuff in the beginning where I was like, okay, but like we're not at Mads yet. Like why do I care about this other dude that he's tailing and stuff like that? I don't know. It felt like it took a little too long to get to what the movie was about. But yeah, overall, I thought it was cool. Didn't blow me away, but I did enjoy a few moments.
I spent way too much time thinking about the mongoose and the cobra. I was like, what if they just teamed up?
Oh,
Dude.
unstoppable.
Start fucking up
Unstoppable.
people around.
They're
Crazy Force,
they're
yeah.
natural enemies.
You think
Until
you get
next
fucking-
week.
Bond Voyage. Thank you. That was Brian.